What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast, episode 281. We had a week off, but we are back, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Game releases, chaos on social media around certain games, PlayStation State of Play, Xbox is dead. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on in the industry right now.
I hadn't heard.
Oh, you hadn't heard? But it's gonna be a good time today, as always. We do have a lot to cover coming back, but glad to be back, man. I always miss these three gentlemen when we skip a week or have a week off. So looking forward to chatting about a whole bunch of games today with this crew you see in front of you. Mr. Rodriguez is the reason we're late today, by the way. Blame him. How you doing, man?
I'm good. No, I'm not good. I've got some kind of thing going on here. It's not great, but hey, whatever. A lot of medication. So I'm feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good right now. Yeah.
There you go. And there's a new Yakuza in the world, which we're going to talk about. So it's always a good time.
It sure is.
So,
Yakuza.
No doubt.
I don't know what you're talking about. Is that anything like a dragon?
Yeah. out of control.
Coming with the finely combed hair this morning and no hat, looking partially dapper, trying to compete with Travis. I think that's why Travis wore the jacket today, Hogue. Honestly, you forced him to up his game a little bit. But how we doing, Mr. Hogue?
I am doing okay. I'm right there with Dan. The midwinter months in the Midwest are always a time of a little bit of throat issues and congestion. So hopefully I don't bug anybody too much, and I will try to mute for any big sniffles that I might otherwise have.
I'm not. I'm just going.
Yeah,
we give the full experience.
The most appetizing podcast ever.
Don't even care.
Yeah, great.
What you guys signed up for, man? What you get.
And of course, I don't know why you're rocking the full suit this morning. Do you care to explain, Mr. Dapper?
I mean, I wear a suit every episode. What's the difference?
You don't wear a suit; you wear a tie. Now, there's a difference between a tie and a suit.
Well, I have an engagement after this. I'm going to a thing.
An engagement.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was already engaged.
Yeah.
Well, it goes back to what we were talking about before the show.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Love is love, Hogue. You never know. Yeah, dude, I'm good. I'm doing good. I've been busy working on some reviews. I finished my Banishers Ghosts of New Eden review. Yeah. I can't talk about, but I'm done with it. So now I'm playing Yakuza, hanging out. Good to be here.
Nice.
Again, I'm not familiar with that game name.
Yeah, we have a lot of games to talk about today. Of course, we have a Chiefs Super Bowl again, Mr. Rodriguez. We came this close to getting the Lions in the Super Bowl. Hogue, what the hell happened, my friend? They collapsed on us.
That's Lions football, folks. If you didn't see the Lions ditch a 17-point lead at the halftime, then you might not realize that's just the way we roll in Detroit Lions fandom. It's actually okay. I mean, they obviously got a lot further than a lot of people thought, and they are not a fully baked meal yet. So, I mean, I think that they're going to get better. And while I hate not making it to the Super Bowl when the only goal was don't lose the half by 17 points or more, it's something that I think that they can get better at, and I'm all right with it. And we're still national champions, as you can see on my shelf. So it's been an okay year for me in football already.
Yeah,
which is the most important thing to you. Yeah. It was funny. We were driving home. I was away last weekend, obviously, driving home from St. Louis during the game, and I put it on my phone, up for my mom to watch because whole family is 49ers fans, of course. And her and my brother, it was 24/7. They were giving up. I was like, it's way too early to give up on this game. We've seen comebacks like this all the time. And there you go.
I mean, not for Brock Purdy normally, but yeah, I mean, we were.
Oh, we got a Purdy hater here, Travis.
Well,
I think he's fine.
He is right. The 49ers this year have not been good at coming back from deficits, but this is an exception. The Niners in general are good at it. They have a good track record there.
Yeah.
It was a surprising comeback. I'll be honest. I was
Yeah.
messaging Cog and Ebontis, who are both big Niners fans as well, and then we were like, I was pretty much like, yeah, it's over. Guess we're not going to the Super Bowl. But hey, we are going to the Super Bowl, and I'm very excited. The energy in San Francisco is very, very good right now. Everybody's happy and getting their flags out, and it's cool.
Nice.
Never give up on the Lions losing for you, ever.
I will make a note of that.
Yeah. It's so we get that rematch next week. That'll be interesting, of course.
Too much red.
It's a lot of red. Definitely a lot of red. Yeah. And of course, we got Tide's picks this week to get to, which are horrifying. I'm very genuinely.
I look adorable.
Okay, so are these pals?
I'm guessing this was supposed to be Palworld related. Yes.
Okay, these are
Nintendo's
our
on the line right now.
All right, so Ains just looks like he's my evolved form, I guess. I turn into Ains when I level up. Which
I
is
like my little red
it's
nose.
Like, it's easy. Ains having a little reindeer nose. It's adorable.
Yeah, it's with a headset again. I always have a headset. I guess
You come with a headset.
Yeah, it's by default naturally. Dan looks like a dwarf from like the Lord of the Rings or something, like a dwarf baby.
I think he's supposed to be like a rock pal, you know, like he's got probably rock throw and stuff like that. And obviously, Hogue is a neutral element, you know, mascot character.
I'm very huggable.
With rosy cheeks. He's got rosy cheeks.
I just want you to know that when I look at Hogue, I already see this.
And you've got the demon eyes going on here, Travis, which kind of appropriate. It works.
Yeah, that's pretty normal.
So
pretty normal.
Ty, thank you as always, giving us a good laugh to start the show. And of course, we have a lot of people coming in early today. So we got super chats and memberships to talk about real quick. Dale, let's go ahead and get to it. Google. Tal tried to beat him, but Google took it by 1 minute. It was close.
Nice. Yeah. You gotta really, you know, if you're gonna come for the king's crown, man, you gotta get up just a minute earlier, apparently. And Google Me with the €5 made a gun psycher in Dark Tide. It's viable, but the game still doesn't work above medium difficulty with random people. Wish listing Helldivers 2. All right.
Okay.
Which is like super soon, right?
Yes, this week. Yeah, and I know Travis did a preview of it, so we'll probably be talking about that as well here shortly.
I played Helldivers, so I can talk about it now too.
Cool. Yeah, Helldivers looks like a lot of fun, so we'll see what you say, Travis. I haven't read your preview, if I'm being honest. Dark Tide, I wanted to play a while ago and never got to it. I still haven't played Dark Tide, but yeah. Googleman, thank you as always for kicking us off this week. Tal coming in a minute later.
All right, Tal, we'll let you slide. $5 super chat, the return of Bitcast. So let's start with food, as always. Is a hot dog a sandwich? And what is your favorite sandwich? Take care, guys. No, and Italian beef from Portillo's, or Al's, or there's about 5 other places in Chicago that I would eat it from. So,
I'm corned beef and Swiss on a nice rye.
Like a Reuben?
Mm-mm.
Or
you get that sauerkraut off of my sandwich.
what the hell is wrong with you?
Hot dog is not a sandwich.
No.
Favorite sandwich? Similar probably to Dan a little bit, like a French dip style. So roast beef, cheese, crusted bread. Yeah.
Philly cheesesteak, also good.
Philly cheesesteaks are good. Yeah.
Philly
you got to get a
cheesesteak,
real.
Unfortunately, has a
one,
high level of variety.
It does.
Like I love a Philly cheesesteak sandwich, but like there are some that are god awful.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to get a good one, and then you have to, if you're talking about actual tri-state area, you have to debate whether or not you're using actual cheese or the cheese whiz, which is the ongoing debate. I'm an actual cheese guy with onions. Some people will fight you to the death on it.
Yep.
I got a Philly cheesesteak sandwich once where they used like nacho topping, and it was like the worst thing
cheese
ever.
Whiz.
Yeah, that's the debate. Do you use the liquid cheese or do you use real cheese? I'm a real cheese guy. Yeah. Travis, let's hear some weird San Francisco concoction that no one's ever heard of.
For my favorite sandwich?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm pretty
PB&J.
Normal. I'm not, no, what? The hell?
Little PB&J?
No, I mean, PB&J is fine. I just
awesome.
It's not,
I love PB&J.
If you're gonna go for best sandwich, I don't think it really ranks.
I mean, the one I order the most is a BLT, but I'm cheap.
BLT is pretty good. I mean, I hate to break it to you, but hot dogs are sandwiches technically. I mean, they fit.
Of course.
They are part of the definition.
Yeah.
If you ask Siri, she'll tell you a hot dog is a sandwich.
I mean, maybe if your bun broke apart, but
is Apple our source of truth now? I don't know about
that.
I
mean, it's like if the bun not being connected is the thing, then aren't Subway sandwiches not sandwiches then? They have the same. They have the same type of bun
because like a Subway sandwich has the separate bread.
No, like the hoagie or whatever, Philly cheesesteak. It's connected bread too. It's the same type of bun.
No.
Hot dog's obviously not a sandwich.
I think you guys are dead wrong on this. Actually, I hate to break it to you, but hot dogs are sandwiches. And so far as I can guess, have you guys seen the sandwich alignment chart?
All I know is Tao is extremely happy that he had this debate started. That he
There's a
listened to
sandwich
you, sir.
alignment chart, right? And basically there's two factors, right? There's the people who are really interested in the format of the sandwich, like it has to be structurally the same, and then there's the people who think that the ingredients are what make it a sandwich or not.
Well,
And then
obviously, a
the people who
cylindrical piece of meat is not part of the sandwich tableau.
I mean, there's lots of different sandwiches. You ever had a sandwich with Chinese sausage in it? It's kind of very similar. It's
if I have an Italian sausage or something, that's not a sandwich. It's maybe I don't even know what I call
it. Like a hoagie? You guys don't think a hoagie is a sandwich?
A sausage. It's a sausage sandwich or a sausage hoagie or
something. You called it a sandwich
on a roll.
Anyway, my point is, if you're the most militant, you care about, you're an ingredient purist and a structure purist, and you think like a sandwich is a sandwich and everything else deviates, and then it gets more, deviant of like, okay, well, the structure doesn't matter as much or the ingredients don't matter as much. And on the most chaotic side, there is a Pop-Tart as a sandwich. That is because it doesn't follow the structure or the ingredients, but it still has the same sandwichy vibe.
I'd say a Pop-Tart is closer to a sandwich than a hot dog. It's at least in the PBJ family.
So in that case, you are a structure purist and an ingredients deviant, because you don't think the ingredients matter as much, but you're really about structure. So I've just put you on the sandwich alignment chart. Somebody could find this online, I'm sure, in the comments. It's a real thing.
Well, I'm not going to take my information about whether I am a deviant from Travis, but
I think I don't know, man.
Hot dog.
I think you're I think you're radical when it comes to ingredients, and you're a purist when it comes to structure. I myself believe that sandwiches are a vibe. It's like what's the this
what's happening here?
I don't know why he's still going. I don't know what happened.
Relax.
That's all I'm saying. And, I don't know. My favorite sandwich. I don't know. Do I have a favorite one? I don't know. I like all sandwiches.
Favorite game. Yeah, I mean, this is.
Yeah, you can't answer favorites.
Oh my God, I know. What is wrong with you? Just pick one.
It doesn't matter.
You're asking me to determine my favorite.
It doesn't matter.
What if it does matter? What if it does matter?
Tao, thank you. I love you, bro. Don't do this to us again.
Yeah. That was at least like a $50 question, Tao. I was going to tell you something.
Tao, we appreciate you and are grateful for your contribution to Bitcast.
Tao, you have to remember I do a show with Travis when you ask these types of questions, okay?
Yeah.
Hey, y'all got into this, okay? Don't get mad at me because I know about my sandwich alignment chart.
Nissa with the member comment.
All right. Can't wait to hear the foodcast.
There you go.
GS cookie season? What the hell is that mean?
I think it's a pizza on YouTube. I don't know why it looks like a cookie on our screen. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, well, there you go, Nissa. You got it right out of the gate. You can thank Tao. I want a big shout out to Jeremy Wharton, who gifted 5 memberships on both channels. So both on the SG side and the Hogue side of the house. So thank you very much, Jeremy. Appreciate you. And Vintage is
one
back.
Other call out?
Yes, please do.
Oh, let's thank Vintage first.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Vintage Willow, for your continued contributions to making any of this possible. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
And I did want to call out because I saw him in the chat. Rainman YYC has let me know that unfortunately he's had a stroke. And he is entering into rehabilitation, and was far too gracious to me in chat and said that he had watched my stroke series and that's why he knew he was having a stroke and got treatment early. And so I'm very sorry to hear that all happened, and I'm very happy that the stroke series has been helpful to anyone. So I did see him in chat, and I just wanted to call him out because I really appreciate it. And he did go public with that information on other channels before. I don't want to violate any codes of trust, Rainman, but I'm very sorry to hear it, and I'm glad that you're here in chat. Now we have to talk about the way you spend your time, but thank you for being here.
Yeah, Rainman's always hanging out with us, so thank you. Very sorry to hear that. Obviously, if we can share anything out, we will. So please let us know. He or she actually member comment as well. What about an open face hot turkey? Getting right in on the conversation. So
Nice.
Right. Well,
But
so open-faced turkey sandwich has never made any sense to me, and that's a meal I like, but that's turkey on a piece of bread. It's just the most convenient way to phrase it for somebody, but it could be called anything.
yeah,
As long as you
you
have an
typically eat it
understanding
with
of
a knife and
communication.
fork because it's got gravy and stuff. So it's
You 100% eat it with a knife
Yeah.
and fork.
yeah, it's not a sandwich.
So it doesn't make something a sandwich just because you put a piece of bread on the plate.
I'm telling you guys are structural purists here. I'm impressed.
Purist, yeah, you don't have to be a purist to know that a piece of bread on a plate does not a sandwich make.
Rayman, thanks
Sounds
for
pretty
joining us.
touristy to me.
Wish you all the best. Yes, thank you. Thanks for calling that out, Hogue, as well. I was not aware of that, so appreciate you.
Well, and I wouldn't have mentioned it, except I did get notes from a bunch of other people in my circle online that had gone public, and I wanted to make sure that they knew
Yeah,
that we were on their side. It's a tough road, but I'm very happy that we were of any help at all.
yeah, fantastic. Okay. Clean the rest of these. Willow with a member comment as well. Never thought I'd say this. I agree with Travis.
Hey, somebody's got
This is this is disappointing, Willow. I'm
Sorry, guys. I think I brought the research on this one, and y'all are just butthurt about it. That's what I think.
Willow, thank you again. Always appreciate it. Debbie W with the comment: if a Pop-Tart is a sandwich, then so is ravioli. Oh God, now we're going down a deep road here.
That might be. Yeah, I think that's radical sandwich anarchy according to the alignment chart. I just sent you guys.
Is it a wheat pasta or a flour pasta?
And moving on. And Cookie Mon Steve. Member for 18 months. Hey, Rain Man, good to see you here. Glad you're feeling well enough to be here. Awesome. Love to see this support in the community. Thank you very much. All right. I don't know where Dan has moved off to, but we have a lot to talk about.
Getting a hot dog.
So we have a lot of games to talk about. Obviously, I'm sure we've been playing a bunch of different things. There's major releases, of course, since we last spoke. So trying to figure out the best order kind of cadence here. Why don't we start, since Dan stepped away for a second? Travis, if you don't mind, you did a preview of Helldivers 2.
Yeah.
And it is one of the early releases for PlayStation coming this week, actually. It looks really cool. It looks like a giant Starship Troopers game to me, which sounds kind of cool.
It's awesome.
How is it?
Yeah, so if any of you guys have played the original Helldivers, which is a very cool game, it is a top-down shooter, and the big change with Helldivers 2 is that it is not that. They went full third person. It's kind of like it really reminds me of
right?
Yeah, it really reminds me of Earth Defense Force. I talked to the developers about it when I was at the studio, and they said, I asked them why they're doing third person, and they said that actually they wanted the original game to be third person. That was the original vision for it, but they didn't have the budget. So top down was just easier to do, easier to animate, all the stuff, and so they made it that way. And now they have a budget.
To be clear, since Travis loves pedantry, it's important to note that top down is still third person. What he's referring to is it's gone to over the shoulder, rather than from above.
It's true. Yeah. No, that's accurate. So yeah, this is an over the shoulder third person view, and it is a much more developed game than the first one. The first one was great, but it's pretty simple, and this kind of ups it in every way. Clearly has a much bigger budget and much bigger vision for what they want to accomplish. And it was a lot of fun. I was playing with the Kind of Funny crew, so Greg Miller and his folks were fun to be co-op buddies with, and it was a darn good time. So you can watch my preview there to see the specifics, but the kind of highlights are hitting your friends. Friendly fire is still a thing, which if you play the first one, you can kill your friends on accident a lot. This is certainly true in this one.
That's really the point.
Calling an airstrike
on accident.
Yeah, calling an airstrike in the wrong
but it is
place.
the point.
It does happen. Yeah, it does happen. and it kind of, the cool thing about the game is it kind of makes you feel like an extra in an action movie. That's what it kind of reminded me of, in action movies where while the hero is running around and doing crazy things, the extras are getting killed by like the most minor of injuries, and it kind of gives you that feel where like you're very disposable, and if your character dies and instead of respawning, they your teammates will call in another soldier, and then you just take over that soldier. And so it has like this really funny kind of like people are just meat to be grinded in this military fascist world. And then it has some really interesting, which is also true of the first one, like a satirical futuristic vision of Earth, where Earth is living under, or it has been dubbed Super Earth, and it's living under a new type of democracy called controlled democracy that is basically just fascism. And it's just it is Starship Troopers kind of in most of the ways, and it's fun. It's just cool, a popcorn game. My one kind of big concern with it that I put in the preview was that it is pretty basic in terms of content. Like you basically just drop in and it's got procedurally generated areas, and you take out whatever the objective is, and then you go back up, and there's no campaign or story or alternate game modes or anything like that. And so it's kind of just like you drop in, you do some missions, you get stronger, and then you take on more tough missions. But there's not like a kind of, I was asking about like, hey, what like keeps people playing? And it's kind of just like, just keep having fun with your friends, and that's why you come back. Which there's nothing wrong with that. There's plenty of games like Rocket League where there's no campaign or anything, and you could just play for hours and hours. And I think this is going for that sort of thing. But it's worth noting it is a live service game. They don't really have a live service roadmap at this point in time. They're kind of waiting to see how the game does before they put that up. And so there are some like longevity questions I have. But what I played, 3 hours of Helldivers 2, super fun.
Is so a couple questions. So you did a preview for 3 hours, as you just said. Is there maybe more content to the game than you saw in the preview that we're not aware of?
Yeah, they did allude to the first Helldivers had 3 enemy factions, and when I was there, I only played against robots and bugs. And the third one, there was like a rival human faction you fought against. Those were defeated in Helldiver 1, that faction, so I'm not sure if they're going to be back in 2, but I kind of feel like they were playing coy with me, and maybe there's a third enemy faction. If that's the case, though, it doesn't sound like that third enemy faction is going to be involved in some sort of like big campaign or reveal. So it's possible that they were just keeping some stuff from us, but the impression I got this close to release is that I more or less have seen a lot of the game, and that I don't really know what the depth is going to be there. They did say that they're basically just going to be reacting to like fan reaction, and they're going to focus on developing whatever it is the community wants first. But just my experience working with lots of live service games is if you don't go in with a plan ready and kind of don't let the herd lead you, is that you have trouble. So my guess is this is going to be a fun game that does well with initial reviews and then has trouble long term, but I could be wrong. I had fun with it, and I think people are going to really like it. And I think it's like a $30 or $40 game. I don't think it's full price. So,
I don't think it's full price. Yeah.
So it's like the type of game that, it's a popcorn game. You go and you have fun, and you log off.
So in that vein, my other question is around the levels. So if everything's procedurally generated, are they at least well done? Are they intricate, or are they rather basic?
They're like, you get dropped on different planets, and there's rocks and a couple different objectives around the map. So I would say it's pretty basic and kind of what we've seen with procedural generation, but that doesn't mean it's not a ton of fun. I mean, like if you've ever played the Earth Defense Force games, it has that sort of same, like you're going around a kind of generic area, but the fun is in trying to accomplish the objective and communicating with your friends and using different gadgets and accidentally misusing those gadgets, and deploying a turret in the wrong spot, and then when it turns around to shoot at the enemy, it accidentally shoots at you and your friends or whatever, and just kind of a lot of like chaos and fun. So it's cool. It struck me as like a kind of mindless fun, but it also had worth shouting out. It also had really, really hard difficulties, and when I was there, I insisted on playing a mission in the hardest difficulty, even though we were not properly leveled for it, because I just wanted to see how high you could turn it up. And at the max difficulty, it was a bloodbath. I mean, we got absolutely destroyed. Like it was, so I think there could be some fun in that and some longevity in that and just like trying to take on the tougher difficulty settings. I'm not really sure what the incentive to do so is though. Maybe more XP or whatever, but yeah, I mean, it's a fun game, and I'm waiting to see the full version for sure. But my preview seems pretty fun. Not sure how it's going to have longevity, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Doesn't sound like it's for me.
Definitely not. Well, you like Starship Troopers, don't you?
Yeah, I like the vibe, but I can't see myself voluntarily jumping into random procedurally generated shooting environments just for the heck of it.
Yeah. And probably matchmaking, or you basically have to play with others, right? As a requirement. So,
yeah, I mean, even from the first game, it's like the fun there of dropping a turret down and immediately having to dive to the ground and yelling at your friends is where the fun is. It's like an anti single player game. It's not that you couldn't play it. It's just that that's not where you'd find any of the amusement.
Yeah, this is the same way. Like, I don't even think you can play it in single player, but you certainly shouldn't be advised to. The fun is there's a lot of weapons that actually require two people. Like, one person has to pick up the rocket launcher and the other person has to hold like the ammo casing to reload it and stuff. And so it's like intentionally kind of, you have to work together. And it's really cool. But yeah, if you require a story campaign, or you really just like playing solo or anything like that, probably not for you. But fun with friends for sure. Like, it's definitely an Ains type game. It's definitely a me type game. So
cool.
Should be fun.
Very cool. All right. Well, that's Helldivers 2. So good to hear about that. I know we've got some people I've talked to that are looking forward to it. So it's good. Why don't we jump over to, by the way, we have the hot dog poll live on the SG side of the house, and the results are scaring me a little bit right now. But, it's running. Anyway, let's talk a little Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. This was, I think, what we did a few weeks ago when we did our episode of kind of upcoming games that in early 2024, all four of us said this was like the one we were looking forward to the most, I think, at the time, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. I mean, we got a freaking Game of the Year nominee in January. What kind of world are we living in?
I love it. But I'll let, obviously, I know Dan's much, much farther than me. Hogue, you may be too. I'm on chapter 5, I think we were.
I gotta believe Dan's in front of me, but I'm on 7.
I'm on 8.
Oh, he's barely in front of you.
Yeah, not by much.
Okay. So I'm early. I'll be real quick here. I'm loving it so far. I haven't had a ton of time to play in. It's definitely got the vibe that I love about this game. Ichiban is just, he's a great character. He's very personable, and I like what they're setting up so far. So I got to
Ted
Hawaii.
Lasso of gaming.
Yeah. I got to Hawaii. I've done a little bit of things, a few things there, and that's about where I've left it so far. But I'm curious to hear from you guys who, especially you, Dan, being the Yakuza kind of fanatic here on the panel. Not that we don't, Hogue and Travis don't love it, but curious to kind of hear about your experience so far, because I know the game is massive.
It's so big.
I mean, that doesn't even cover it. Massive is not a large enough word.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so before it came out, I try to avoid as much as I could, but there's a lot of like RGG. They would tweet out, "Oh, hey, this is in the game. Hey, this is in the game," and it just got to the point where I was like, I kind of questioned. I think I said it on here too. Is this going to be too much? Like too much content and fluff and craziness? And because a lot of times it does that to the detriment of the game, and we kind of, I think we talked about this too. They use Yakuza has used chapters in their game or the main story to introduce all these other different things. Like this one's got like an Animal Crossing game. You can do, what's the other one? The Pokemon like game. There's so much more to it than that. The dating sim, the Uber Eats person, there's tons of it. And I'm in chapter 8 and I'm still getting stuff that is being introduced as new mechanics for the characters. And
yeah, to give some context here, I opened the job system at hour 31.
Right. And it becomes at that point, the job system, I liked the concept. I don't think it was well thought out, because and even in the first one, at the point that you start accessing that stuff and you're able to get these other jobs, you're so far invested into whatever job that you've had. Like for me, I use Hero with Kasuga, you know, and it's not. I mean, I'm level 30 something, right? And so why am I going to go back and become the Aquanaut, you know, and get my surfboard?
Because it's cool hitting people with an ice cream surfboard.
Yeah, that's fine, but it
also it
so
doesn't
far into it.
It doesn't set you back that much because your job level mostly just gives you access to new abilities, but it doesn't pump your stats ridiculously high. That's your
I love the
level.
job system in this, by the way.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Think that they've thought it through. That the job level itself gives you baseline stat upgrades as well. So there's incentive. One of my favorite parts of Infinite Wealth, and I'm going to just say here that Infinite Wealth is pretty close to a 10 out of 10 for me. I love this game to pieces. And the thing that they have solved and that they've built towards this game with is that they've worked out the way to have different games or different types of things to do, and then have them all feed back into the main system that goes through the game. So what I mean by that is the Crazy Eats, the Crazy Taxi / picking up cans mini game that they put in here is a Sega arcade game that they figured out, like everything else they've built in here, will give you points to get things off of a list with those points that can upgrade your jobs or your class or your weapons or whatever else that you want to upgrade. And they have so many things that you can build up on your character that all of these things, even though they're 20 hours long by themselves and you can do 100 of them, constantly feel rewarding. Like Infinite Wealth is the first game this year, obviously early in the year, but the first game in a while that seemingly rewards you for whatever you want to do at any given time. And you're having fun with it because you chose what to do. If you want to play an arcade game where you're running around on a bike, you can do that. That'll go forward in your progress. If you want to play the normal RPG, that's great. Do you like Pokemon? We've got a system for that. Do you like Persona dungeons? We've got a system for that. Do you like dating sims? We've got a system for that. And all of that is in the game, and it's just constantly introducing you to new things. And with the traditional now, Yakuza, Like a Dragon, what if we took RPG tropes and put them into this Hawaiian city? And to talk about Hawaii for a second, like it's such a nice thing to be in a completely different environment than the Yakuza games and Judgment and everything else in this series. Not to say that those are bad. I like going to Kamurocho a bunch of times. I really like seeing the evolution there. But this feels like that time when you've got your favorite TV show and the cast goes on vacation, right? I jokingly call this Yakuza Goes on Vacation because it's a brand new thing. They're going through various places that don't feel exactly like places you've been before. They've nailed down some of the kind of Hawaiian feel with the way that the sunlight reflects on things. And it's such a good experience that I can't recommend it enough. I love Infinite Wealth. And now that I understand the title a bit more, I understand the plot a bit more. I think that it's got a very good plot, like all of these games do, that you get to choose how you want to interact with. So you can make it last 100 hours before you advance to chapter 3 if you want, but it's all at your fingertips. And the actual battle system is similar to Like a Dragon, but is improved significantly from there. They've got geography that's been introduced. They've got various combos and things that you have to think about while you play in a way that is consistently gratifying and fun, quote unquote, in a way that I liked in Like a Dragon, but I think it's just much better. It's exactly what you want to see.
Why are you putting fun in quotes? That scares me.
I put fun in quotes because I don't think fun is an actual thing to grade, right? Like I prefer talking about it being engaging. I prefer talking about it being gratifying. Fun is not something I think you can actually qualify. So it's fun for me. Yeah.
I would agree with that. Because fun is different to different people.
Yeah, anybody that says it's fun is not giving a very useful
Whoa, I completely. How is gratifying any different in terms of it can be quantified? How gratified you are, isn't that also a personal? I don't think your substitutes solve the problem, sir.
I'm not trying to solve a problem. I'm trying to say that I don't like referring to them as fun because I don't find it useful.
Why not? That's the most useful thing when you're talking to your friends.
You're just trying to change this is my judgment. I don't think it's useful.
I'm challenging your judgment call. I'm asking
Yes, but
you.
why not isn't a great challenge. I don't
How
know what
about-
to tell you.
I'm saying show your work, sir.
My work is I don't find that when I get a review that says something is fun, I don't find that useful. So I try not to put that out into the world when I am telling you why I am engaging with the game well.
Why?
So I
why
would point
isn't
to something, Travis, like I like reading the descriptions of weapons in Elden Ring as
Mhm.
fun. That's fun to me, which sounds
Okay.
ridiculous to some people, right? Like, so if I write that that's fun, someone may go, "How the hell is that fun?" Because that's not fun to them. It's not. There's no.
Right. And I like reading lore entries, and I find every inch a
You know
mile
what I
of
mean?
games
Like,
like Last of
fun
Us to
is-
be
Yeah.
engaging.
Yeah, but you can say that you think something's fun and then explain what was fun about
Sure.
it, and I think that's still useful. I don't think that you should. I'm here's the reason I'm bringing this up as something that I want to nitpick, is because I think it's really important when you're talking about critical analysis to come to people in the language that they speak, and I think that when you tell somebody that something is fun, that does matter. As long as you explain why it's fun or what you found fun about it, you have to justify your opinion. But I think getting away
Travis,
from
if you want to take everything I've said and say it sounds like Rick's having fun, that's on your table. That's fine with me. But I am not going to offer that as my initial impression of a game.
why is gratifying any better?
Look at
Is my
Dan's
question.
face.
Why is gratifying any
Why-
better?
why
We're
you-
back.
why
We're
use-
back,
I think it
everyone. Thank
conveys-
you for joining us.
Why use a $2 word when a 10-cent word will do? Is my question.
Well, I get paid by the word, obviously.
Aha!
But
And here, finally, we have found an area where it is Hogue, not Travis, who is the elitist, not speaking the people in their to the people in their own language, sir.
I try to use the breadth of language to convey individual ideas, and I don't think fun is terribly useful when talking about things like video games.
Well,
I also think it's reductive, right? Like as Ain said, I find The Last of Us to be enjoyable and to be something that is gratifying to go through, and I would not call that particular game fun.
all right. Well, I certainly agree that maybe the word fun might not make sense if you're playing a drama, but I think in the game of Yakuza, calling it fun is extremely accurate to what you will actually experience when you play the game. And also, I'm a fan of using friend on the couch language when describing games because I think it's the most useful way to describe games to your peers. And I would advise anybody against using words that make them sound like Professor Video Game, because I do not think that that's particularly useful to the reader, to average
I
people.
sound like I sound, Travis. I don't know what to tell you.
Proxicus
Well-
with the most important question of the moment.
Well, I'm going to
Oh,
call
I
Hogue
definitely think it's quote unquote fun.
Professor Video. Yeah, he said quote unquote fun, which honestly, that gives me way more questions than if you had just called it fun. Because I'm
we're
like,
done
wait,
with the fun questions. We're done
It's-
with the fun questions.
So yeah, I'm having pretty good time. I'm having fun with Yakuza.
there we
That's all
go.
I got.
Friend on the couch.
Yeah, there you go. Go play it. It's good.
So, in all seriousness, it sounds like Hogue is extremely high on the game. Dan, you sound like you're maybe a little bit lower than you anticipated, just going
I
by
think it's too much.
reading the room.
I think listen, you can add as much as you want to, and you can give people more options to play. I mean, some of the stuff that you said, maybe you'll change your mind a little bit in chapter 8, but it gets, there is so much, and it just keeps adding and adding and adding and adding. And I'm a completionist, so I want to try to get as much of this stuff done. I'm going to tell you an actual.
I mean, I think that can come up, right?
Yeah. So we're sitting
Whether it's
here.
Valhalla or this.
My wife she doesn't typically watch me play video games. Well, she was watching me play Yakuza, and I went to the Donkono or whatever island, basically the Animal Crossing little part in it, and I'm over there smashing trash piles with the bat, just running around clearing out stuff. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I have to do this." Well, why do you have to do it? You've been doing it for 30 minutes. I was like, "Yeah, I got to make money. I need money to buy this other stuff, so I need to do this." I'm not proud of
I
it.
do love a game with a good economy, and certainly you're always scrounging for money in Infinite Wealth, which is a little bit ironic, but I love that.
Right. You are.
You have to get to the infinite wealth, man. You got to get there.
Yeah, I haven't got to it yet. It's out there somewhere. But there's a lot of, I mean, it was just like she couldn't believe what I was doing. I couldn't believe what I was doing. I'm like, I've got to build this up until at least a level 3 or 4.
But is she objecting
have to do it?
Gotta?
Yeah, you have to do it. No, you don't have to do it. But if you want to make money and have infinite wealth, apparently that's probably the best way that I've found so far to do it. Aside from, I mean, actually, that's it. That's really the best way, unless you go and just keep Sujimon playing or whatever for $1,000, but that doesn't get you very far. When there's a weapon that costs $144,000.
Yeah, $140 is their number.
Yeah. 144 for some reason.
By the way, sorry, Dan.
No, it's just a lot, man. It's a lot, and I still like it, and I'm enjoying playing it. And it's Yakuza, and it's the biggest thing for me is the characters. It's always has been. It's always been what Yakuza has been for me. Between the characters and the story, that's what makes these games enjoyable to me. And this is, it's got old characters, new characters, still introducing them, and I'm enjoying every one of them. They're all well written. There's not one of them that I can go, man, I really don't like this new person, and then I see
it is amazing how many folks that you just say, how many people can you introduce into this series that I still like to hang out with?
Exactly.
And they're at the top of their game in Infinite Wealth. And the only criticism I have on that at all is that the people that are going to be added to your party do have noticeably better models when you first are introduced to them. So there's not really a lot of surprise for what's going to happen in terms of joining the party, but they're all very interesting. And it's a lot of fun. They're in their full kind of BioWare, hanging out with companion quests elements and a lot of stuff. And that in and of itself has stuff that you can build up separately. I mean, there's systems upon systems upon systems, but they're all smartly designed to build into one another. Now, do I recommend playing it like Dan? I would not recommend playing this game as a completionist. You want to do what you feel when you sit down, and it'll introduce new elements into the game seemingly throughout its entire runtime. I'm 40 hours in and I still get tutorial pages up for whatever new thing they've introduced. So you want to play what you feel like and advance the story at your pace, and understand that advancing the story is going to open up new systems as well. But I woun't get stuck doing just Sujimon League stuff or get stuck doing I don't remember the name of the island either now. It's like
Don Kono or something like that.
Don Konku, something like that. Yeah. So I quickly Googled because I didn't know. I haven't seen anyone talk about it. So apparently there are 14 chapters in the game. And it says here that each chapter takes at least 2 or more hours to complete, but the further in the game you get, the longer the chapters get. So, Dan, I'm maybe screwed. Halfway.
Yeah, no, I'm well, according to my console, I am 43% done with the main story. That's and I'm assuming that's what that is. And I've got 60 hours, I think, already. So
the Yakuza standard is like 15 chapters, so that doesn't surprise me.
It's about right. Yeah. And so that's
and the reason they get longer is not because the story beats are longer, but because the stuff that you do in between each chapter, when you in between the main stuff, takes like a really long time, because they introduce like all these mini games you have to go back to and like finish off, your Suja decks, or go and do the Animal Crossing mini game and all this other stuff. But it is all very fun, at least. I mean, this is one of those games where I don't mind the bloat a little bit.
This is that bloat goat, because everything that is feeding into those systems is fun in and of itself, right? This is the difference between Valhalla and Infinite Wealth to me, is that you go and you play Crazy Eats, you go and you play I'm going to memorize this menu and do this sub story for this cook that needs my help, whatever it is. You go and do those things, and they're fun independently. And then the fact that they build into your own like main progress is just itself fun.
To a certain extent, I think you're right. I think the issue with what you just said is it still becomes a grind the farther you get into it. And I mean, the level, the experience grind is something that I can do without. I mean, there's a lot of times where you're walking and across the street, there are guys that are 15 different levels higher than you, and you're like, what the heck? I just crossed the street. I mean, I don't like that kind of, how they
You'll learn to fear the color pink. Yes.
Well, yeah, you get away from that stuff. But, also there's, when you hit certain points of the story, it will tell you specifically, it's like, you really want to be this level with this ranking on your weapons or whatever.
They do. I like that they did that
That's
message.
very nice.
Like, we think it's this level. We think it's this stars of your equipment.
I have never been that level yet, and it's happened like 4 times. So I have to go back, and this is me doing as much as I possibly can beforehand. I'm still having to go back and jump into. This is what I didn't like about Like a Dragon, was towards the end of the game, there was one big boss fight where, unless you sat there and you grinded like crazy, you were not even close to that boss's level, at least 5 levels away, and you had to go back to the arena, which they don't have here, but they have it in the last
they have
game.
A Persona dungeon in this.
Yes, they have a
Whoa, spoilers.
Well, it's just a dungeon. It's just like the sewers.
I mean, like,
the same thing as
I was going to ask about spoilers, right? Because you can talk about all these various things. The features themselves are to some extent spoilers. You've got an Animal Crossing game in there. You've got Pokemon League. You've got a Persona dungeon. Literally, if you can think that there was a good idea in Japanese role-playing games, they probably incorporated it.
Yeah, they tweeted out all that stuff, so it's all out there. But I mean, it's I don't like that grind really, because it's not. There's not a whole lot of ways to go about doing it unless you just sit there and just pick fights with everybody on the street. That gets old after a while. And you don't really level up too fast. The dungeon part is fine, but the level, like the first dungeon level is 18, right? You want to be at least level 18. The next one's like 32, right? And so there's such a disparity between the two of them that you'll get to where you need to be, but to get to the next one, good luck. I mean, even if you're doing all these side quests and stuff, it's just like right now in chapter 8, I'm at a point where I'm just dodging everything. Like on the street, it's gotten to the point where I can't even. I got to really watch where I'm walking.
See, I know you're past me, Dan. I don't know how you're playing it differently than me. I think almost my entire island has turned to blue at this point. I mean, it's just the way that I play, I guess.
So, yeah, I'm not going to say anything because, here I'll say this:
well,
I'm not in Hawaii.
They haven't been raided by the alien forces yet, Rick.
No, I'm not in Hawaii anymore. So that's that. I'll just say that. And so everything that I've been
spoilers.
I'm just saying.
Well, they've hinted really at a lot of going back to Japan.
People know yeah.
Yeah. I think we can wrap this up, boys. Come on.
Yeah, I'm good. It's fine. Go play.
I don't want to wrap it up.
If you want a game that you will get every penny of, if you decide to invest it, it's there to invest your time in. There's so much stuff to invest your time in, and it just keeps getting. There's more and more and more and more, and it's
all smartly designed, and it's
very,
all
very
enjoyable to play.
Yes.
Infinite wealth, folks.
Yeah, and here
it's fun. That's a tagline. It's fun.
Here's one thing I would say about that, and I know we talk about bloat goat and all that, but like I couldn't believe it's been 4 years since we got Like a Dragon. That surprised me going back and looking, because it released in 2020, if I recall correctly.
It was like a launch game, right, for the new generation?
I think it came out right before.
No, it was on the new generation. Yeah, it was right after.
It might have been right before, and then with a patch.
It was during COVID, for sure, because I played that all through COVID.
But anyway, my point was just going to be that, like, we all love that game, and these games don't come around super often, right? So like I know it's there's a lot to it, and it takes a lot of time, but like sometimes I don't mind that if the content's enjoyable. Like there's content in big games, like we joked about with like Valhalla seems to be our go-to game where we talk about this, where a lot of that stuff just bored me to tears. Like I didn't just feel like doing it. Whereas if, to Hoag's point, if the stuff in the game, even though there's a lot of it, it's well designed, it's fun, quote unquote fun, then I don't mind. It's a game I can just take my time with, right? I'm not on a time crunch to finish this, right? I can just enjoy it over weeks or months and have a good time with it, knowing that
I don't want it to end. It's great.
Yeah, we're not going to get another game like this for a while, although RGG is killing it, but you know what I mean.
No, I think it's fantastic, and I'm so happy they didn't rest on their laurels with like the battle system. Like a Dragon was very well thought of, and this is clearly an evolution of that. But even just popping in, unlike Dan, I didn't follow their tweets. I didn't know most of this stuff, and so all of this is being introduced to me. I knew basically that you would wind up naked in Hawaii at some point. That was my full understanding of Infinite Wealth, and like adding the little bits of like bouncing the enemies between each other and being more cognizant of where your team is standing and grabbing things off the ground and just various ways in which the Yakuza series had operated that they've incorporated into this turn-based role-playing game is so smart. And they just did such a great job. I can't speak highly enough of how this game is designed. And I think that sometimes gets lost in the wash when we talk about just Hawaii or finding people in diapers in a stroller or whatever else you might be doing in this game.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's definitely raised my appreciation for the series as a whole, which Dan has been trying to tell me about for years now. Let's get caught up on some comments and super chat. Go ahead, Travis. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say I'm also really, really enjoying the game. I'm probably at Hogue levels of enjoyment. I'm at like a 9+ on this. I mean, I haven't played enough to give it a full grade, but I agree that the bloat isn't a problem if you're liking it. It's really only bloat if it's unnecessary, kind of tacked on stuff, and I haven't really felt that at all. My only criticism is about kind of the model they've chosen. Locking New Game Plus behind a deluxe edition is crazy to me. And
that is nuts.
The fact that there's also achievements in the game you can't get unless you have access to New Game Plus makes that even weirder, because it's like there's 2 versions of the game and some of the achievements you can't get unless you get a certain version, which is really weird. But aside from that, I mean, everything is great. Story's great. I love Ichiban. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So I'm at Hogue levels of hype, but I only just started playing it on Friday night after I finished my latest review. So, and I probably will be off it to go to review Skull and Bones next week. So I'm gonna have to play.
You and I will play this game at the same pace, essentially.
Yeah. I'm gonna work through this one. I've got kind of a backlog of games I really, really want to finish, and this is literally at the top of the list. I mean, I love Like a Dragon. I got every achievement in that game. Played through Millennium Tower, and I plan on doing that on this one, even though I saw one of the achievements is, do New Game Plus twice or whatever, and I was like, what? Yeah, so yeah,
it's a bit much.
A lot.
Awesome though. Yeah, I'm glad. As I said, I know we were all really anticipating it, so it's great. And I've not to stay on it, but I've seen people who have finished it say the ending is like incredible, like as it kind of
they tell good stories with these games. It's almost incidental because they've designed such a good game, but the stories are so effective. They're melodramatic, but they're great.
Yes, 100%. All right, let's get caught up on some of these comments.
All right. Member comment from Jeremy, but it's a hot dog and action adventure.
Yeah, no, it's an RPG.
Yeah.
Really, hot dog's an RPG, you'd think. I honestly,
I think ARPG, really.
Yeah, I think an RPG is like more complicated. So I would say
we can do different builds, though.
Like Chicago hot dog.
Yeah, you can do builds and action adventures. Can't you? Yeah.
No, ARPG. That's why I said it's an ARPG because you can build it differently depending on your needs.
It is a little top down hot dog.
See, yeah, perfect.
Yeah, there you go.
Jeremy, thank you. Big Mad Mo in the house.
Big Mad Mo. Member comment. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. Yeah, that's a hell of an acronym. Is fire. I'm loving it. Got to get back into Halo, and shout out to the panel. Hope you all are doing well.
Shout out to you.
Yeah, Ains, can explain Halo Operation Change? But
I can. Yeah. Yeah. So just the latest season, if you will, they've kind of moved on from seasons to what they're calling operations, and pretty grossly, in my opinion, CUs are literally calling them content updates now with a number. It's like, guys, you needed to think this through a little better. But the new one is out. It's based on Halo Wars. It has the Mark IV armor from Jerome in Halo Wars, and a lot of cool content for fans of Halo. So I'm enjoying it. I play ranked 99% of the time, and the ranked experience isn't fantastic right now. But other than that, it's fun. And, the Pro Series is coming back very, very soon, too. So good times.
TV show's coming back soon, too, right?
TV shows this week. along
really?
with
This week?
it's February 8th. Yeah, 4 days.
Oh, wow.
Thursday. But more importantly, the one I'm really excited about, I don't think we've ever talked about this, is Tokyo Vice comes back on Thursday, which if you haven't watched it is an incredible show.
No idea what you're
Absolutely
talking about.
incredible. It is it's based on a true story about an American journalist who went to Japan in the 80s and got wrapped up in the Yakuza. And it is awesome.
Oh, I think I have heard of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So been waiting for season 2 of that. Anyway, moving on. Thank you,
Let's
Mo.
go. All right. Nisa with the $5. Thank you very much. What I was trying to say, okay, this is the cookie thing. I was trying to say was Girl Scout cookie, GS cookie. That makes sense. Yeah. They're amazing. Member comments only allow 50 characters. Hope everyone goes out and support your local Girl Scout. Yes, do that. Lemonades, Thin Mints, Samoas.
Get those Samoas.
Oh man, whatever. They're all good. The peanut butter patties. Oh my god. Not the chocolate ones, just the regular peanut butter cookies. Absolute favorite.
Nissa, thank you so much. Sorry about that. I didn't know the member comments were limited, but thank you for the super chat and appreciate that. One of the guys that works for me, his daughter is in Girl Scouts, and we have like 5 boxes upstairs. So always support.
I'm pretty basic. I
won't eat them, but
Thin Mints in the freezer.
Yep.
Yeah, Thin Mints in the freezer. Absolutely. If you're not eating your Thin Mints cold, what are you even doing? Come on. Nissa, thank you. Just want to highlight this comment from Paulo. Man, y'all been my favorite podcast for a little while now, and I can't even talk. While now, and I only knew Hogue before. So we've seen a few comments from Hogue's channel finding us, discovering us, and always nice to see these types of comments. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ash gifting a membership on SG and the Hogue side. Thank you so much, Ash. Good to see you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Ash.
you hanging out with us.
I just want to clarify that the last
Jeremy back again.
That he only knew Hogue before. Didn't say that he only liked Hogue before. He still doesn't like Hogue or any of us. But now he knows about us. Now he knows about all 4.
Oh, good. That's awesome. Jeremy back again. I started Yakuza 0. What do I need to play to try Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth? I mean,
9 more games.
Yeah. No.
Realistically, it's Like a Dragon and Man Who Erased His Name are the things that are most immediate.
Yes, but you can probably play it and not have to worry about it. There's a way to give you like kind of a quick recap of the last game, so you can do that and kind of get an idea of what's going on in the story. Now, with that being said, Yakuza 0 is super freaking good, and you should definitely continue.
It's my favorite in the series.
Yeah, it's probably close to mine too. So yeah, it's really, really good. It's been updated, I think, plays well on the new consoles. So go play it. It's awesome. It's where it all kind of started. I mean,
it's technically like the 4th Yakuza game.
Yeah, it's like the 4th or 5th, but technically story
chronologically it's the 1st. Yeah,
chronologically.
I actually think you should not play Yakuza 0 until it appears in the game release chronology. So I approve of going through the original 3 and then going back to 0. But I get why people play 0. It's just hard to play 1, 2, and 3 when you play 0 first. That's my.
I think Kiwami holds up pretty well.
It's true. Yeah, the only one I didn't finish was the 1800s one. I haven't done the Ishin. Yeah,
Ishin.
Other
people were asking if, and I know Joe was asking too. Shout out to Mr. Badbit, asking if you need to play Like a Dragon before playing Infinite Wealth.
It's pretty useful to at least play the beginning.
Kinda, yeah. I do not think that this game is good at catching you up. It kind of makes things more confusing.
It tells you what you did in the first game. If you choose the right, like there's a point in the very, very beginning of the game, you're at his apartment. It says, "Oh, should I reminisce?" Because he's got a little altar to
it's like one of those show recaps,
right? It's just like it's a really quick recap, or Google it, or you look it up on YouTube. It's really not
just play it. It's awesome.
I wouldn't let the existence of the prior games prevent you from playing Infinite Wealth.
Right. It's so much.
I think it's useful to know who Ichiban Kasuga is. That's Like a Dragon. But other than that, I don't let it keep you back because Infinite Wealth is its own story.
Oh, so true. Fair enough. All right. Where am I at here? Debbie W.
With the $5 super chat. Thanks, Debbie. Sunday mornings are just not the same without this banter. Glad to have Bitcast back.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie. Always.
I guess the other thing I would add is that it's important to know that Kiryu is the original protagonist of the Yakuza series.
Yes.
So him rolling into infinite wealth is a little bit like Luke Skywalker showing up to some extent.
He's also the final boss in Like a Dragon. Well, not really, but
Not really.
He's the optional boss. He's tough.
What are
You guys done
talking
that part?
Yeah, I don't know
He's
what
brutal.
you're doing right now. Why?
Yeah.
Weren't you the
brutal.
one like claiming spoilers like
Oh,
10
it's not a
minutes ago?
spoiler. It's not part of the story. It's just like an extra thing they threw in where you can go and fight him, and it's like it requires all your
In
characters
Like
to
a
be max
Dragon?
level. Yeah.
No. That is
Yeah, he's in it.
100% a part of the story. I just got
Is
done
it?
with it. Yeah, it's part of the storyline. It's
Nah, him showing up is, but that
Him
whole thing where
showing
you
up-
fight him at the tower at the end?
Nope. The tower.
Is that part of the story, really?
Yeah, it's 100%
I
part
totally
of the story.
misremember that part. I thought it was just an optional.
He has to, prove himself, or Ichiban has to prove himself to him, and it's part of the story.
Was he going full power? Could Ichiban take Kiryu?
Because there's two phases to him. I'm not gonna say what they are, but there's two phases to him. I don't know why you would do that. Yes.
I don't know what you guys are doing right now, but we're gonna just move
Not
on.
optional. Not optional.
It's good.
Fight him. It's really good.
I mean, it's cool.
Debbie, thank you. Detective C, it's good to see you, man.
Enjoying the show. Cheers, boys. Whoa, $20 super chat. You're crazy.
$20 super chat. Good dude. I talk to him pretty often, and has his own channel and game reviewer and stuff as well. Good dude. Check his stuff out.
Check out Detective Seeds.
Yes. Thank you, man. And lastly, Googleman, just giving us a super sticker with good luck, have fun.
Oh, good. I can see it.
Fun.
Hags.
Quote, unquote.
Yes, he threw in the fun. I got it.
All right. I know we want to have a conversation on Suicide Squad, or I should say I want to have a conversation on Suicide Squad. Before we get to that, I know we've already been talking about currently playing because we're playing a lot of games, but other games you want to shout out before we jump over to Suicide Squad in conversation?
Well, there was one. Palworld.
Yeah, I just wanted to say
one I wanted to
Palworld
mention.
Okay.
Because we didn't talk about that game after it came out. I think we didn't have a show, right? We talked about it right before it came out.
No,
I think
we did. No, we did.
We talked about Palworld.
Yeah,
yes, I mean, it's continuing to do very well, but we did talk about it. Yes,
I'm playing a whole lot of that game, and I did both my reviews for that while we're gone. Been playing that. It's a good one.
You gave it an 8, right?
I gave it an 8 on Steam, and then we did a separate review for the Xbox version because the Xbox version is pretty busted.
Yeah.
Still a good game though.
Yes.
Okay, I was wrong then. Sorry, I thought we missed that one.
Good. By the way, I meant to shout out too. Nearly 350 people hanging out with us. Thank you so much. Good to be back.
Nice.
Love to see it. Love to see it.
And chat, I can see some concerns about the Like a Dragon Yakuza spoilers or story. Everything that was mentioned here, I can promise you, is details of progress. It is not spoilers for what happens in Like a Dragon or Infinite Wealth. So you're good on the actual story of these things.
Yeah, and I would say the vast majority of what you and Dan especially detailed has all been shown in videos of the game that RGG kind of showed. So anyway, Hogue, you said you had a game you wanted to talk about.
I do. So I have been recently getting into a TV series that people have recommended to me forever, which I think folks are going to recognize, called For All Mankind, which is an Apple show that takes a alternate history tack on the space race. Right. So when I was a kid, I used to play a game called Buzz Aldrin's Space Race, where you were basically a manager at NASA and trying to win the space race for America against the Soviets. And you were making decisions on how to build your base up and when to send up particular missions. And it wasn't that complicated. It was a very simple type of manager game. But I remember playing it a lot. It was what got me very interested in the era, as well as my father. And so this is about when Apollo 13 comes out, and then the From the Earth to the Moon series that Spielberg and Hanks put out together, I think. And so this has always been a favorite of mine. And For All Mankind starts in the 60s and takes these small changes in history to kind of extrapolate what would happen if these changes were made in a way that I found absolutely fascinating. And I'm continuing on. I'm only on season 2. So speaking of spoilers, don't tell me anything else.
How far into season 2 are you?
I am in the premiere of season 2. Why, Ains?
Okay.
Gets bad.
Sorry to interrupt you, because I watched it based on my my future son-in-law, is really big in space and stuff. So I watched on his recommendation. Really got into season 1. Thought it was very well done. Season 2.
I loved season 1.
they make the jump. You know, they jump every season. There's 4 seasons. About a third of the way through season 2, and for the rest of it, it goes completely off the rails. It's one of my least favorite season 2s of all time of any show. I literally stopped watching it. It's that bad.
Well, I've been enjoying
in my
it so
opinion.
far,
In my opinion, of
and
course.
I'll keep that in mind as I continue. But I am enjoying it so far, and it got me interested in playing something like Buzz Aldrin's Space Race again. And there's a game that I'm playing on the Xbox that I think is also on PC called Mars Horizon, which does this very well. So if you're interested in any of that and running a space race on your own, you can pick to be the US or the Soviets or the European Space Agency or these kinds of things. It has that same kind of system. You're essentially picking what missions to run and how to make money and how to get support and how to increase your base. And Mars Horizon is a game I've been playing and really enjoying. So check that out.
Nice.
I don't know whether we're going to have a separate conversation about it, but Tekken 8 is awesome. I love Tekken. I like Tekken more than Street Fighter. And so Tekken 8 is great if you're interested in Tekken at all. And I really enjoy that game. And then I also have been trying out various I think they're still trying to find a genre name, but the Vampire Survivors genre, which I think are currently described as auto shooters. And I've got one that I really like called Army of Ruin that I really am enjoying. So if you like Vampire Survivors, if you like Brotato, which I'm also playing, if you like any of those things, Army of Ruin is an excellent kind of example of the genre. Those are Hoag's notes.
Sweet. Yeah, I can.
Sorry, real quick on Mars Horizon. What type of game is it, Hoag? Like you described what you do, but is it like real-time strategy? Is it action? Like what?
No, it's menu picking. It's essentially you're trying to build up your research tree in order to have the right boosters and things to beat somebody to orbit or the moon or Mars or what have you.
Okay.
And you're figuring out what level of training you want to give, when you want to send the mission up, and it has various changes for what the weather is. And then it's essentially going to show you a bar that has bad and medium and good outcomes, and it's going to show you where it lands on the bar, and you're going to be picking how these things go. And if you like that conceptually, it's a management game. You're clicking buttons, but it's excellent.
I got you. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm very excited to see what you think of For All Mankind as you get further into season 2.
Well, I loved season 1, and I loved the first episode of season 2, so we'll see.
Okay. All right.
Unless the aliens attack, I really don't see myself losing my interest in this show, but we'll see.
Okay.
It jumps the shark a little bit, but
a little bit.
It's very cool.
Cool concept, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Travis, was there something else you want to talk about before we get to Suicide Squad?
I was thinking through all the stuff we missed while I was gone, and I think the only thing we didn't talk about, we got Helldivers, Palworld. I can't talk about Banishers yet, but I can talk about Skull and Bones. I did another preview for that game where we played the end game together for like 5 hours. So I've now seen Skull and Bones end game. Basically, they hooked us up with like some end game level ships, and they got me in a crew, and they set me loose on the post game content and also the seasonal content, because they also announced to us that they already have the first 4 seasons, the first full year of Skull and Bones content lined up.
They seem to be going in on this game.
They're going crazy on it. Because they had a lot to show. Like, we got to play the season 1 content, and then they had the season 2 content as like a little preview trailer or whatever, and then they had like logos for season 3 and 4. But yeah, I mean, my main takeaway was that they have like some public event type stuff where you fly, you sail around and you go to these areas and you take part in them, and they're like larger events. And that the public event stuff was a little underwhelming. It was like a lot of like the same kind of like you're raiding fortresses or you're destroying a ship and stealing their loot. And there was supposed to be some element of like betrayal where you can grab the loot from another player and then PvP is activated and you can kind of fight each other. But that didn't really work all that well when we were playing. So I'm not sure if they're still working out bugs. But the cool part of it was the like really high end or kind of high level activities you can do and bounties you can take on. Like, we fought a giant sea monster at one point. It was like a giant like eel creature that was swallowing ship's whole, and that was pretty cool. And then the seasonal content was about this like poison loving pirate captain who invaded the seas and like poisoned the waters, and there was like a big boss fight against his boat where you had to get a whole bunch of people, like at least 6 ships, to take him down, and he shoots the poison everywhere and sends like these little suicide dinghies after you to blow up your boat, and it was pretty chaotic and fun. So there's some potential to that one in terms of like they certainly are going hard on the kind of post-game support. Obviously I've got my doubts, like a lot of us. I mean, this game was in production hell. I don't know if people are going to be down to continue piloting their boats around a year out. But Ubisoft is certainly all in, and they know what they're doing with live service stuff. It's just a question of if this one clicks, especially after how much money they've sunk into this thing, which I think there were reports this week about how much they've spent on it and how likely they are, or rather unlikely it is, that they will make that money back, because I think they're already expecting to not do so. But it's crazy. This is one for the books. I mean, when this game comes out, I'm going to be shocked and relieved that we finally got there.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how it does too. Are you actually reviewing it?
I am, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, so it's destined to sell 17 million in 3 weeks, right? Like you're the Midas touch right now.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, my other review this year, we'll see. Yeah, I don't expect it to do that, but I could be wrong. It's not out yet. We'll see how it does. I'm just this is one of the ones I don't know. Like, the game seems fine. The game seems like it's going to be fun. I just don't know if it's going to have the audience or longevity to sustain its audience. But I mean, I had fun with it, man. I don't know. There's a lot of competition in that space.
Yeah, and there's a lot of competition just in general right now for people's time.
Yeah, but for live service, and also like Sea of Thieves is out there and it has a huge audience, and some people are not super stoked that you can't get off your boat in Skull and Bones, that it's pretty much a 100% ship-based game. So there's just I have a lot of questions about that game, but we'll see, man. I have no idea what to expect with the review.
Did they mention how many people can be in an instance?
Yeah, it's like each map has maybe, I think it was like 12 or something like that. It was like not a huge number. And then your crew can have 3 people. And that was part of the frustration with the, at least the version of the end game I played, which this was a month ago. They could change things by then, especially since I gave feedback. Like I messaged them afterward and was like, hey, probably should do this. But like, for example, there would be an event that popped up on the map, and it would like give this big alert, like, hey, you should join it. Like, it's a public event. It'd be like, yeah, you got to go and do this, this piracy, this heist, legendary heists, they're called. You have to go do this legendary heist. And I would try to join it, and I would tell my crew, like, hey, let's go to this legendary heist. I'm the leader of my pirate crew, right? Everybody joined my party or whatever. And I joined the event, and it only adds me. And then I'm like, all right, well, I guess I got to tell my 2 other ships to go add themselves to this event because there's only 3 slots. I add myself to the event. One of my other teammates gets there, but then before the 3rd one can get there, another person on another crew signs up for the 3rd slot. And so now we have to go into this event and do it, knowing that the 3rd person could show up if they want. They can participate, but they won't get any rewards because they're not officially a part of the event. And it didn't automatically add my whole crew to it. And so my question was like, how is this a public event? It kind of seems just like an activity, and the fact that your entire crew isn't automatically added and they have to kind of like sit on the sidelines and wait for you to finish it up if they don't get a slot before anybody else. I just have a lot of questions about how some of that stuff is going to work in its final form, but I can tell you it was not cohesive in the version that I played. So we'll see how much of that makes it to the final game. But yeah, I have some concerns about this because I've previewed it 3 times, and my first 2 times were honestly better than I thought. Seems like it's coming together. Combat in, ship combat is good. It feels like a better version of the Assassin's Creed ship-to-ship combat. But there hasn't been a ton of, I think, sustained interest in this one, and the end game preview made me a little wary about. I mean, it's cool that they're going all in. That is a necessary thing to survive in live service. But I wasn't blown away by the end game options, and so we'll see, man. I have no idea what to expect from this one, even though I've played a ton of it. in preview.
Okay.
I just don't know. I don't know how it's going to end up.
Yeah. Planet Yavin asks, I think this is right. You talked about staying on the ship. I think you can get off, but only at like ports. Like you can run around
Correct.
ports, right? But you can't run around the world.
Yeah, you can run in social areas, but there's no like, boarding a ship and then fighting the crew.
It's not like open world. You get on your ship when you want.
Not open world. Yeah, there's like small social hubs that you can get off to talk to people. I am glad that they added that, and it's cool that you can customize your character because I'm going to spend probably most of my stolen booty on that. Yeah, it's just I think some people were looking for like Assassin's Creed without the Assassin's Creed branding, right? They wanted Black Flag where you're doing third person combat.
That's not what it is.
And it doesn't have that. So I think some people were upset about that.
Okay. One quick member comment before we move to Suicide Squad.
Alrighty, Don. I'm really enjoying Enshrouded, the other major survival game that released last week for those who don't want to enslave their Pokemon.
Yeah, a couple of the SG guys are playing Enshrouded. They've had really good things to say about it. So I haven't played it, but I've heard positive things. So good to hear. So cool. All right. So Suicide Squad, guys, our cover this week.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about every kind of aspect about it. So obviously I wanted to talk a lot about it because of the discourse surrounding it, or I use the word discourse very casually in this vein. But I will say, like, the I don't know where I even want to begin. The conversation around this game is one of the strangest things I have seen in a long time for a big game release. And it almost started when they first showed the game because it just wasn't what some people expected or wanted. And it's just kind of continued through release. And it just seems to be all over the place. It's become a very controversial game. And I have a lot of thoughts on it. I don't really know how to structure them. I will say that I'm playing the game. I was excited about it. I've said before that I was taking it as its own thing. I think one of the things that'll come up in this conversation is that a lot of people were focused on Rocksteady being Arkham Batman, right? That's Rocksteady. And I was taking this as this is just a new game. You know what I mean? This is just Suicide Squad. It's a 4-player co-op, crazy over-the-top game, action game. And I was taking it solely as that. And in that vein, I've got several hours into it now. I'm not through the game. I haven't finished it. I can't talk about review scores, but I am enjoying it. I feel myself wanting to play it. Like I played it this morning a little bit after I got up, and like I'll probably play it a little later today. I just have fun running around the world, shooting stuff and blowing stuff up. And I think generally speaking, it's quite well produced. I think it's beautiful. It runs super smooth. It's fun to play. The character models and kind of the cinematics and the kind of banter between the characters is really strong. So I'm enjoying it. I have some qualms. I think the mission design, I know Hogue, you and I have talked offline, that mission design is not great. You know what I mean? It's very repetitive. But I think, just as a fun game, that keeps coming up. I'm having a good time with it, and I am a little confused around the seeming need by some sub-segment of the community to just be down on this game. It just feels really odd to me and out of place, especially obviously for people who haven't really engaged with it or taken time to engage with it.
Yeah, and I have some things to offer on that. I think there's effectively a couple of cultural movements that both kind of collapsed on this particular game that we can talk about. But first, I want to say I'm enjoying it. I like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I think there are some missteps and choices that were made that I wouldn't have made that I understand people getting upset about, in terms of like the mission design is very much that kind of what you accused Destiny of back when Destiny 1 came out.
Yes.
And I use that as the colloquial which is that everything is designed around essentially a multi-player game that whether it's domination or something else. It's defend these spots, go claim these things and get all the enemies out of this box, that kind of thing that the Avengers was accused of. It has a lot in common with Crystal Dynamics, the Avengers, actually. But unlike that Avengers game, I think that this Rocksteady game has a lot better story, has a lot better characterization, has a lot of that built in a way that the Avengers game never really managed to do. It was essentially like 2 separate games between campaign and co-op. But on top of that, there's a couple of things that happen. One, the review copies of this game didn't go out to outlets early, right? So nobody, including IGN, which is what we're going to focus on here, I think, wound up getting a review copy of this game before it was actually released in early access, which we know Travis and IGN on the whole have a problem with as a term, viewing it as a marketing term, which is fair. But nobody had access to it early, so the reviews weren't able to be done. And IGN, certain folks at IGN went out on social media and suggested that this was being done in a retaliation for the negative preview they gave the game. There really was no evidence of that. But this led into some folks that are already predisposed to thinking about big outlets this way, saying that, oh, well, IGN's going to be biased when they come out with a review of this game. And IGN then wasn't very happy with the game when it came out. And so if you go and look at their review, the IGN review is actually, I think, very well written. It's by somebody I don't know named Simon Carty that Travis might know. But it's well written. I agree with basically everything it says. And then I think the score is lower than it should be, even on their own rubrics. So they gave it a 5 out of 10. The IGN scale says a 5 is the kind of bland, unremarkable game we've mostly forgotten about a day after we finish playing it, which I don't think is what this game was. By comparison, their 6 is these recommendations come with a boatload of ifs. There's a good game in here somewhere, but in order to find it, you'll have to know where to look and perhaps turn a blind eye to some significant drawbacks. Seems a lot closer to what Simon Carty wrote, if you read that review, then this is bland and unremarkable. There's a lot to say about Suicide Squad, which is why everybody's saying it. There's a lot of good story in there. It fits into the Arkham universe. It has a lot of that characterization that Ains mentioned. It has very good graphics for this type of game. And unfortunately, when designing the gameplay itself, they went with this kind of, you're going to play a multiplayer game the whole time, and we're going to just have these mission types that you recognize as the things that you would do to kill time in the Avengers. And I don't think that goes very well. I think it would have benefited to do something differently. And I think in the Carty review that you can see at IGN, he talks about the fact that it's a little unusual to have this kind of superhero villain dynamic and just have guns everywhere. And they aren't very well differentiated between the characters other than traversal, which is very well done. And while I think the shooting has a lot of smart things done with it, like you shoot at the legs to make them harvestable for shields, and you do things to counter their attacks, and you have this kind of more than just shooting at a target dynamism to the gameplay. The actual characters themselves aren't super different, aren't differentiated very well, and the tech trees, the skill trees that you have for these characters are mostly small bonuses. So I think that it works probably better as a game for someone like Ains, who's a little bit more into that multiplayer arena shooter space, because it has a lot of those components and ingredients into it. It feels a little bit more like playing a dynamic, crazy Halo than something else. But for the people that also enjoy storylines, it has a lot of good Arkham stuff in there. Now, do I think that's a good mix? No, I think you can make wonderful tasting things and put them together in a fashion that winds up with something really ugly when it comes out of the oven. And I don't think either fan base that likes the shooting or that likes the story is going to be super happy with the other half of the game. But that to me isn't a 5 out of 10. And I don't think it's a 5 out of 10 for IGN either. And I think people that look at that and say, well, since you came out with some social media posts that suggested that you were angry at Rocksteady and Warner Brothers, and then you did this, and then you say it's mediocre and we're not going to think about it anymore, and then you have an article said, let's take a look at the ending video and talk about whether they kill the Justice League, and then you have an article that says Batman's completely wasted in this game. Whether or not those are acceptable op-eds in a kind of vacuum is worth having the conversation. And I think if you're a platform like IGN, if you're a platform like GameSpot, if you're a platform that has the kind of old school, high level journalistic mentality and has all these people that view your content because of that mentality, then you do have a responsibility to not foment what is conversation that gets out of hand online pretty easily. And I promised you I would talk about the other half of this. So I do think there are two cultural movements that have happened here, one of which is a general video game move against live services, however you feel about it. So when you see the Arkham developers go and make a game that is a multiplayer shooter and has this DLC content pipeline and looks for all the world like the Avengers in the DC universe, then there's an overall kind of feeling in some quarters, some critical quarters, that says we're not going to feel as strongly about this as we would about The Last of Us Part 3 or some other cinematic action adventure game. And I think Travis is well positioned to talk about this better than I am, both because he's inside at IGN and also because he is the champion of different game experiences and live services as opposed to just everything being the same single player game. So I want to let him talk about that. But the other thing I wanted to add to this, and I think IGN wound up involved in this perhaps accidentally, but if you know YouTube, if you know the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if you know just general criticism online, you know there's a certain reactionary element about media taking certain stances from a political standpoint against other folks within the world in such a way that they hate everything that says one thing or another about X, Y, or Z. So when I was in the alpha for the Suicide Squad, I did note that they had a pride banner in the Hall of Justice. And I remember thinking, oh, some people are going to react to that. And lo and behold, they did. And so that all kind of comes into this hurricane of thoughts about this particular game. And that's not to put IGN in that bucket. It's to say that they, I think, unwittingly kind of fed that at the same time. So you get this conversation about a game that really doesn't deserve it at the end of the day. That Suicide Squad is an okay game that I also enjoy playing, Ains, that I think has a lot more story and character beats than people would expect just looking at it from the outside. And a lot of people hating on it for reasons that don't have a lot to do with what's actually in the game itself.
Sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of that's well said.
I pretty much agree with Hogue. I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, I think a lot of that's well said. There's multiple facets I could touch on, but go ahead, Travis. I'll come back.
Yeah, I'll give my perspective on this, and I'll start by saying that personally, I do not have an opinion of this game because I have not played it. I bought it on Friday after the early access thing was done because I'm trying to not do that unless I'm doing it for a review. And what I played in the alpha or the beta or whatever, the closed beta that we could then talk about retroactively, I liked it more than the previewers liked it. And I seem to have liked that, at least that part of it, more than IGN's final review score. So maybe my review would have been different. Talking about the review, or let's just talk about the drama around it first, because it's a tough position when you're a large outlet and people have certain perceptions about you and the way you operate that are not based in fact, they're just based on like hunches or whatever, to cover a game like this one, right? Which is a really big controversial game that some people are sort of going against right at the outset because it's a live service game and they are perceiving this as being like a Anthem type situation where, you know, Rocksteady was forced to work on this type of game that they didn't want to support, which we do not have any evidence of. And that
we could have gotten Arkham 4, but instead we got this.
Exactly. And I do not think that the studio wanted to work on Arkham 4. I think they wanted to work on this. That's just my impression outside looking in. And it's tough to cover this sort of thing because on one hand, you have an obligation to your readers to say what you feel, especially when you're doing opinion pieces, and to do things like, hey, we think that the Batman actor Kevin was used poorly in this game, and that they kind of leaned on it for marketing to sell it. You know, you could totally make that argument that that's a thing. And clearly we had somebody who felt that way and wrote about it. And you have to give your honest opinion when you're writing a review. And if that review is negative, you can't really take into account the fact that people are going to think that you're being biased when you write it. You just have to say what you feel. That's what it comes down to. And so I think there's a lot of people at IGN that are just doing what they think is good coverage of this game, writing stuff that they think people will care about. And we're kind of trying to put aside the fact that everybody's going to hate us for it. That said, I do think that there's I don't think IGN's been perfect. I don't think they're ever perfect in this. And I think especially some of the stuff that certain people on social media have tweeted about this have not been super responsible. I wouldn't have done it, right? Like I wouldn't have tweeted some of the stuff that people tweeted, but you have to keep in mind that when somebody speaks out, especially on their own personal social, it's not IGN taking a stance. It's just a gamer who felt a specific way and they're just a normal person who has their own opinions. This sort of reminds me of the Starfield situation where there's a lot of really hot opinions and some of them are related to the content of the game and some of them frankly aren't. And I would just caution everybody to accept that people are mostly just disagreeing honestly, right? That there's not any sort of conspiracy here and that some people don't like this game and some people do. As for IGN's review and Hogue's kind of analysis of where it finally ended up, I also had kind of a weird reaction because I read it and I was like, well, that doesn't sound all that bad because the things that I cared about, like the main campaign and the story and that sort of stuff, the fact that they said like the entire campaign was pretty much good, I was like, all right, that's kind of what I was expecting. But I'm also one of those guys who plays fighting games and plays the campaign and then doesn't really engage with it beyond that, right? Most of the time. And so for me, if somebody reviews a fighting game and they go, oh, well, the online is terrible and the matchmaking's bad, I'm like, well, I don't really care about that. I'm just going to play the story. And for this one, it seemed like this reviewer cared a whole lot more about the end game, which is fair. It's being pitched as a live service game. And my understanding is that the gameplay loop and the end game are both pretty bad. And if that's bad, then that's a huge part of the game. That's gonna hurt it a lot.
So funny enough, not to interrupt you, Travis, but funny enough, Zach, who you know, and is reviewing it with us, said the reviewer for IGN is completely wrong about the end game.
Okay. Yeah. So that's an opinion.
It's an opinion. Absolutely. Yeah. So I haven't gotten there. I can't speak to it, but I've heard the end game on this is much more substantial than Avengers had.
Yeah. And I think obviously
it's not hard. I mean,
well, I think, but the reviewer said fair. Like Avengers had a better end game, and people are like, "What are you talking about? Like it's not even close."
Yeah. So these are all opinions, right? I just would say let's try to tone it down a little bit, because I've not really engaged with the discourse, quote unquote, to use Hogue tactic. I've not engaged with the discourse much on this, but my thinking is that people are just getting a little emotional and a little up in arms over people just having different opinions about this game. If you like it, good for you. If you don't like it, that's totally fine. And I just want people to cool off a little bit from somebody who's not playing this game yet. I'm just sort of like, let's chill, guys. People are allowed to disagree. And disagree strongly.
But I would offer that IGN fed into that emotionality, right? I would offer that the optics of this were a self-perpetuated problem, right? So I'm with you, Travis. People should calm down. I do not think that IGN is a conspiracy operation designed to take down Rocksteady or Xbox or whatever else they're being accused of on any given day. But I do think that they could operate as a more professional organization sometimes, and I think this is one of those times.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that opinion, right? Like you can say that IGN maybe didn't act cautiously, given the fact that we knew how people were going to perceive stuff like our review and stuff like the articles. And I can tell you that just from the people I know at the company, there has been some discourse internally on like how to cover this game, because we know what people's perceptions are. And I think the conclusion that we came to based on the content that we've put out is, hey, we're just going to say what we feel. And if we feel strongly that the game wasn't good and did a bunch of bad things, then we're just going to say that. And people can twist that into we're biased or we have a grudge, axe to grind or whatever. I will say, I think the Destin, you guys know he's my friend. I was on a show with him for many years. He's going to be at my wedding in August with his wife. He's a good guy. I like him. But I think some of the stuff that he said was just him talking. He has a YouTube channel, and I think part of his personality on that YouTube channel is that he, is a little bit boisterous in his
blustery
opinions.
Yes.
Yeah, a little blustery. And I think he did that, and I think it didn't hurt. I think it didn't help the perception that people feel about IGN and how we have it out for this game. I can tell you that everything Destin did is a genuinely felt opinion. I just think maybe he didn't do, like I said, he did things online that I wouldn't have done, that I think probably hurt the discourse more than it should have. But frankly, I don't have a problem with anything that anybody is saying online in terms of their opinions. I just don't like the taking it personally and developers tweeting at people and saying that, they're bad people, or it's just a lot of like, it's just a lot of really,
like I said, the whole thing around this game is just odd and not great.
It's odd.
Right?
Yeah. It is odd.
I mean, I think it's where we're going, right? This is. So here's the thing: you have people that when a game comes out, that they are so hyped up about it that it is impossible for it to fail. It won't, regardless of how bad it is when it releases.
In their opinion, you mean?
In
right?
their opinion, yes. In their opinion, there is no way the game could be unplayable, and they will make excuses up. On the other side of that coin, you have people who think that the game, there is no way it can succeed. It's a piece of garbage that will never change, right? The problem is, anytime you have these, larger outlets And I have no problem with IGN. I never did. I don't care about any of them. But the thing is, you people watching and reading, right? You engage with this stuff. You're stupid. This is how they win, right? So stop reading it. Stop replying to it. Why are we talking about it? Because I feel like this takes us down a notch a little bit, because we shouldn't have to be talking about it. We should be talking about games, and that's it. Not because it has some kind of stupid discourse on Twitter and online. It's dumb, right? And all we're doing is farming more engagement. I hate that. I hate that garbage. I understand this is like people's livelihoods. Good. You guys, if you want to do it, fine. I don't like it here. I don't like it out there. I don't like it anywhere. I think it's
I'm legitimately interested in this, Dan. I'm not farming engagement, I promise.
Stand it. I can't stand
no,
it.
he means the people who purposely do this stuff.
Yes. Yeah, they do it on purpose. I mean, if you think that, they don't know what the reaction is going to be to an article that criticizes a dead man who has been, well known and lauded for his performance in these Batman shows and video games.
To be clear, I think he's very good in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, they were criticizing the use of his voice.
Yeah,
and it
that's
being
fine, but that's what they're doing. Right? They know what that's going to generate, and you
kind of
continue to follow that stuff and react to it. Stop reacting to it. It's really not that hard. In fact, let me put this out there. It's easier to do nothing than to do something. Period. Because watch this. There's me doing nothing. Nope. Now I got to work and do something. All right. It's literally easier just to not say anything. But you
can we get a clip of Dan just saying, "Here's me doing nothing"?
You love the negativity. You love the engagement. You love having people hear your opinions like it matters to somebody other than yourself. It doesn't. Right? It never has. It never will. Nobody cares. Except for some reason, you can't.
People do care. Yeah.
You can't control yourselves. Control yourselves. Don't give IGN, Kotaku, GameStop, whatever it is, GameSpot. Don't give them it. It's that easy.
Well, and Kotaku's known for that. Kotaku's known for the clickbait engagement. That's why I'm saying I want IGN to be the adults in the room on this stuff, and I think this one got away from them.
Happen because that's not where we live in these days.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true, Dan. I think it's never gonna happen. I think there are people trying to responsibly talk about this. I think there's a lot of perception that goes into this. Like the people who are writing articles about this aren't doing it with an agenda. They're doing it because they, like everyone else. No, it's not true, dude. I can tell you.
Dan, we can't just call our co-panelists horseshit.
I'm just saying, maybe not. I'm just saying generally. They know what the reaction is going to be.
They know. That is true. They might know what the reaction is going to be, but they're not writing it in order to cause drama or what people say for the clicks. These are people who feel a certain way, and clearly lots of gamers feel strongly about this game. Some of those people work at IGN, and they write their articles about how they feel. And so if somebody feels a certain way and they write about it, this only ever comes up when people feel like there's some conspiracy going on at IGN. Let's give a very recent example.
Yes, and that's a stupid thing to think too.
Palworld, right? That's another game that we have created a ton of content for because a lot of people on our staff are playing it and really liking it, and we're writing op-eds and we're making YouTube videos and we're doing all this stuff for Palworld. That we're not treating Suicide Squad any differently, except for that a lot of people who are playing Suicide Squad at IGN are not liking it. And so that's really the only difference, right? I just think that this only ever comes up when people think that we're trying to kill a game or we're trying to do something shady, and it's just not the case. Now, to Hoke's point, could our editors have been better at maybe walking on eggshells with this, given the perception? I think so.
I don't think eggshells is fair on this. I think that IGN went way too far into the drama channel territory, and I think that there's definitely a
in our official articles or in people's social medias.
I think your articles informed by the social media, but your articles, you have an article about, and I say IGN has an article about not getting a review code, then it gets its review in progress, then it gets its 5, then it gets its here's the ending of the game that just came out, then it gets its Batman fans should be pissed. Right, because it's not just a Kevin Conroy thing. It's got a paragraph here that says, in a better game, the Batman boss battle would have played out like a survival horror mission, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you already have this kind of cardinal sin of review critique, which is I wanted to play something different, but it's all a combination of things. And that's the editorial staff at IGN saying this is what we're going to do for a game that we said reviewed at something we'd forget about the next day. Right. So, I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I think IGN is people, like every organization is people. And so you do have natural inclinations one way or the other. And I talked around it a little bit during my long speech, but like it does lean into this kind of reactionary mindset, right? There is a kind of strange parasocial relationship with the character of Batman, the fictional character of Bruce Wayne and Batman, that has kind of been seen online, very similar in my mind to kind of The Last Jedi and Luke Skywalker and these kinds of things. And I've got my essay out there about why I think that Luke Skywalker wasn't handled properly. But that's just criticism. And when you put that all together into this stew, you have an outlet that is the biggest in video gaming that knows that it's living in the year 2024 and isn't taking the proper steps to engage because, as Dan posits, they're getting clicks out of it. I don't know whether that's in fact the case or not. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I just don't think it was run very well on this question. And I think, unfortunately, Suicide Squad bears the brunt of that problem.
Yeah, I don't know what I guess I don't know what the criticism is in terms of like what we could have changed, because it's literally just the thing that we wrote about us not getting a review code was basically like a PSA. It was like a, hey, you're going to ask where the reviewed code is, so here's a article. It didn't say anything about like, hey, we're mad at Rocksteady or they blacklisted us or anything like that. I know that some people in social claimed that, and I do not think that there's any bearing on those claims. My understanding is that nobody got a review code, and also this is a live service game, so getting review codes ahead of time is also just not common. Like Skull and Bones is a live service game. I'm getting the game when it comes out because it's on servers. So that's like normal in my opinion. And then
and I'm not saying that
yeah,
it's appropriate to muzzle everybody's personal social media outlets, but I think you have to be aware and have policies and procedures internally at your organization. I know my clients do.
That I will agree with. I think I don't have a problem with any of the articles IGN published. I think those are people stating their views, and we had op-eds.
What about the ending?
The ending thing. So there's a whole. Somebody actually wrote about this on the site. I had it on my phone before we were talking. Maybe I'll bring it up. But the ending thing, we do have articles that are like, let's talk about the ending, and those are labeled, spoilers. The headline says we're going to talk about the ending, and so people like that content and engage with it a lot. And also the people who are playing the games like to write about the endings, because after you get done seeing a movie, you want to talk to your friends about, what happened in the movie. And so we write those and label them, and a lot of people like that content, so we make it. I don't know if there's anything wrong with that as long as it's labeled, hey, we're going to talk about the ending, which,
I don't mind ending explained videos and articles so much. I think it comes out the day the game released. I mean, I think it's very unusual timing for it.
Yeah, that comes out. That we do that with all of them. I wrote an article about the ending of Liza P the day it came out because the ending was notably newsworthy. I wrote the article with the headline of, hey, this is the ending spoiler alert ending article, right? And I because I wanted to talk about the ending of Liza P after I played it. And if you beat Liza P, you know why. Like, I wanted to talk about it, and people wanted to hear about it. So I don't really know why that happens, but I can tell you that like it's a thing that we do, and I don't know if that's wrong as long as you label it, because if you're clicking on it, you know what you're getting into. But that said, I will agree with the social media thing. I think we should muzzle people on social media personally. 100%. I think the social media thing is crazy. I mean, I'm lucky in that I don't work internally there, so I sort of get to manage my socials the way I do, and I think I'm pretty responsible about it because my policy is like, don't tweet unless it's me promoting my review or a preview that came out that I'm allowed to talk about, and I kind of just keep my other thoughts to myself. But some people we live in an age, and a lot of people disagree with that policy. They want to share everything and aren't afraid. And I don't think that they should be ashamed of their opinions. Like, if you're Destin and you had a really bad time, at a preview event, and you want to talk about how you think this game is bad, fine. I just think that it feeds into, like you guys are talking about, it feeds into this perception that we have an axe to grind, and I don't think it's helpful, and I don't think it's worth tweeting about it. I don't know what you get from tweeting about it and getting people
Well,
to.
yeah, and we can talk
yeah,
about individuals, but I mean, IGN social is also on the clickbait prowl, right? I mean, we talk about this offline a little bit, but the language used in even advertising their op-ed about the use of Batman was a ton of people are upset and rightly so, and it's like, okay, all right, IGN social. So I mean, like, it's optics. It's big organizations have to worry about how they project into the world. And I don't think IGN is doing very well at it right now. And I think that is unfortunately contributing to the discourse that makes Dan upset.
Sure.
Make money though.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take issue with the clickbait thing because I think I just fundamentally disagree with you guys on what your definition of clickbait is, which is like, intentionally misleading. And I don't think we do that. I think we just write headlines that are provocative but true, and that's what you're supposed to do. That's what they teach you to do in journalism school. So I take issue with that, but I don't take issue with most of what you said. I don't think we've been great at handling this issue. I certainly don't think individuals of the company have been great on social. I don't have a problem with anybody having opinions. I would just like everyone to take a chill pill. That's really it.
Well, and so yeah, I disagree with you because we've debated this a lot behind the scenes on the way the tweets are worded, and I do define that as looking for engagement purposely. Like like I said yesterday, when you say a lot of fans,
there's nothing wrong with looking for engagement personally.
No. But when you phrase something like a lot of fans are upset, you're creating imaginary people. There's no foundation to what you're saying.
I mean, that's a very easy claim to prove, though. There are a lot of people upset about this game. You can see that in social.
But is that how we're going to measure everything now? Is data? Is some people on social are saying this, so a lot of fans are pissed?
It's an op-ed, so you're allowed to make claims and then try to prove your hypothesis in it, which is what we posted. Yeah, I mean, that's what a subjective op-ed is. You're stating your point of view, and then you're trying to prove your hypothesis. You obviously will not prove it because it's an opinion. But I think you're allowed to publish content like that. And I think some people, they see those they assume the headline is like a hard news.
What do you mean by allowed?
But this is where we said yesterday, like, of course they can post their opinion, right? You can write an article that says, I didn't enjoy Kevin Conroy's performance in Suicide Squad, and I feel it was wasted as one of his last performances. You can write that all day. But when you tweet about it and say a lot of fans are mad and rightly so, as a way to advertise that op-ed, you're taking a leap. That's just not. You're trying to make your personal opinion carry more weight than it actually does by saying there's a whole bunch of people over here behind the curtain you can't see who agree with me. When that's
clear, the op-ed doesn't say that, right? The op-ed doesn't say I got an army of people behind me. I'm looking at it right now. It just talks about this author's opinion, and then social media goes out there and says, we're going to foment the chaos. We know you're all upset about this. Look at what we just
that's
wrote,
what I took issue with, not the article. I mean, anyone's entitled to their opinion. You can think this game's a 1. I don't care. Write whatever you want about it. But I don't like when people try to take their opinion. And this is where I struggle with some of the people who kept posting about it, about not liking the game, It's like, that's fine. But you're trying to prove an opinion. And anytime you go down this rabbit hole of proving an opinion by creating kind of these, things like lots of people agree with me, like I joked yesterday, it's just a silly argument.
I think when you make an opinion and you're trying to persuade others, that's you trying to prove it. And I don't think it's something that can ever be proved, but you can be persuasive, right? And so what I read that headline as, look, you're a social media manager of IGN, and your comments are reactions to the reviews and all the news you post about Suicide Squad saying, I hated this game, I'm not having fun, blah, blah. You're just saying a ton of hate for it. Now you're posting an op-ed somebody wrote about how they thought that Kevin Conroy was misused. So you're going to write like something to the effect of, hey, lots of people seem to be upset about this. We think that we have an editor who thinks they're right. Here's why. And so that headline, I think, is justified in like hey, look, lots of you guys seem to be upset. We have somebody on our team who agrees with you, and they wrote an article about it. Click. Right. And that's what I think it was coming from. Now, some of the phrasing of like lots of people and stuff, fine. I don't have a problem with you thinking that that's a bit much, but I take issue with the idea of clickbait because I don't think people understand what clickbait is, which is an intentionally misleading headline that doesn't actually have the content in the article. The article was about the thing that the headline talked about, right? Like it was about how they think that Kevin was misused in the game. And I
Well,
I don't
much
think
like a
that
sandwich
qualifies.
versus a hot dog, I think there are various degrees of what clickbait can mean, right? So, I mean, I think clickbait, you can absolutely have clickbait, which is check out all of the nudes here, and it's actually a video of a Rickroll. But you
That's
also
fine,
have
too.
one that just says,
You've been looking at my email?
we're going to align with the actual subject matter of our video or our essay is going to be, and it's that kind of you won't believe number 7 kind of approach to clickbait. So, I mean, I think that there's various degrees of this. I don't like what IGN Social has been doing with these things. I agree with Ains there. And honest to God, Travis, I don't expect you to throw your employer under the bus on any of this stuff. So I think
I can though. Here's the thing. Like,
well, and I also want to be clear. This isn't directed at you, right?
I know
like,
that. I know that.
I feel some
I know
people
that.
here
Look,
are like, Travis is this, and it's like, well, he's not IGN. He's Travis.
I just want all of you guys to know that when I defend IGN on these things, it's not because I will lose my job if I don't. I can say whatever I want about IGN. I'm an independent contractor, and I'm not in any danger of losing my position. And I mean, look what Destin gets to tweet. You know what I mean? I'm nowhere near that. So like, clearly, I'm okay. When I say this, it's because I have a perspective, which is that I'm on the inside and I see how this company works, and I know there's no conspiracy, and I think everybody's trying their best. And so I'm just trying to humanize the team a little bit more and let you guys know that like we are just folks doing our best. And I see a lot of logic in the way we're running things. I don't agree with everything they do. I just got done criticizing the way that we handle social. I think people tweet too much. I think they get a little wild on social, but again, they're just people, right? They're just folks talking. And in general, I am an advocate of IGN being the adult in the room. I think we are the closest major outlet to being that role. And I think when we step away from it, I become disappointed in the company. But again, I don't run the company. I'm an independent contractor. I'm going to be fine. If IGN fired me tomorrow, I would find other people to write for the next day. I'm not in any danger. And I can say what I want. So I say all of that to let you know that when I defend them, it's because I agree with them. And if you disagree with me, tell me why, and I'll engage with you. But my problem with the clickbait argument, Hogue, is I think there's a little bit of definitional slide happening where now anything that you don't agree with is clickbait. And I think that started, I think clickbait's original definition and what people call clickbait now, or rage bait, or whatever you want it. My problem with it is it implies an agenda that you have no insight into. Rage bait means that they're trying to stoke rage and they don't actually believe in the things that they say. I would say that that is demonstrably false. The people who write these things believe these things. Now, whether we should have posted it at that time or written that op-ed, you can criticize, and I might be on your side. I don't know if we should have posted that article that week.
There's a responsibility there, right?
Yeah, sure.
And I do think we can have this conversation like we would have had the conversation about The Last Jedi, or even The Last of Us Part 2, right, Travis? Which is to say, I think there is an issue that people are a little bit too tied to the Batman character or the Bruce Wayne character. And when you're writing a quote unquote good story about the Suicide Squad killing the Justice League, spoiler alert, it's in the title, folks, that it should look a little bit like it winds up looking in this game. And so I do think you have people saying, well, they're disrespecting Batman. It's like, well, it's Harley Quinn. Do you want them to be the characters or not? And I think that you can actually analyze this in a longer form about why we get so many kind of choice-based games that have an evil path or a dark path that never feels very compelling. Is that you have people like BioWare or Mass Effect or other games of that type deciding that folks don't actually want to be the Suicide Squad. They don't actually want to be this darkness. They still believe in the Justice League. They still believe in whatever the Paladin's path is in these various games. And so you get these kind of weak sauce versions of evil and darkness. And where Rocksteady seems to have said, these are the characters, this is how this would play out. Batman's brainwashed, by the way. All this stuff works together in unison in the video game. And you have folks reacting to that was disrespectful to Batman and the legacy of his character in the Arkham series. And I just don't see it, right? Like there's a separation between the story you want to tell with the characters you want to tell it with and what happened. And this, to me, everything I've played in the game, even looking at some of the clips that I've seen from things like the IGN articles, seems to suggest that Rocksteady has their fingers on who these characters are, what they want to portray in the story. And that doesn't seem disrespectful at all. So I guess I disagree with the merits of the argument at the same time. And I think that the internet and social media and people that react to these characters and this kind of reimagining of characters that they grew up with is all part of the same story. And so I do see IGN stoking these fires in a way that might be useful for engagement. And I don't have so much disrespect for IGN to suggest that they don't know what they're doing here, right? I don't think they're ignorant of some of the actions on this, and I think that they're feeding into it, even though it's apparently a game that is so boring that they forgot about it as soon as it was over.
Then again, that's one person's opinion, and I don't know if everyone feels that way, but clearly there's a lot of editors on the team who have played the game and didn't enjoy it. And I think there's the problem with like the know what they're doing and playing into it does imply a conspiracy, right? It implies that like we're all huddled up and going, hey, here's what we're going to do as a team. Here's our agenda. Here's what our end goal is.
I don't think you need a conspiracy to be motivated by clicks, right?
But if we wrote an article, that was an op-ed of somebody saying, hey, I actually really love Suicide Squad, that would get as many clicks as our negative article, I assure you, because people would be like, what, a dissenting opinion? Maybe we would get more clicks. It literally, what's happening is there's a bunch of different people on the team. They're all writing their own stuff, and when people look at it in aggregate, they think, oh, well, this team's just out to get it. And I honestly just think what you have here is you just have normal people playing the game and not really liking it and writing about it. And I get where that goes. Like I said, I don't disagree with you on like some of the phraseology or how we weren't super sensitive to it. Maybe it wasn't right for us to publish an article on that day at that time, given the fact that everybody has a certain perception of us. But I think that there is a certain level of virtue in saying, look, I know how people are going to take this, but at the end of the day, it's our responsibility to say how we feel about this game, and we're going to do that regardless of how much people think that we're shills or it hurts our image or whatever, because our allegiance will always be with players, with gamers, average people like us, and that's it. I think we owe it to them to say how we feel regardless of what the consequences might be. I think we could have stated those opinions with more delicacy, but I don't think there's anything wrong.
Like I said, I like the written review of the game. I agree with the criticisms of what's in the IGN review. I just don't think it's a 5.
Yeah, so you can disagree with the score, and again, the score is a subjective thing. I will say sometimes when people write a review and then give it a score, a common piece of feedback from the editor is this reads like a blank. Right. And so maybe that was an opportunity for somebody to say, hey, this actually reads more positive than your score. Maybe add more justification if you actually think it's that bad, or if maybe reconsider whether you really do think it's that bad. We don't always get it perfect. I certainly have given review scores that I've regretted later. So
as have I.
Yeah. I
mean, we all do. That's part of reviewing a game. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to touch on real quick, just to kind of close the loop here, so we can move on. But I want to just touch on one thing Hogue said, which I think is pertinent here, is around the expectations of the game itself and the characters. And I know we started with this, but is around, this is not a Batman Arkham game. And I think that there is some kind of allegiance from certain fans, not only to Rocksteady and those games, but to the characters, as Hogue said. And I was playing with Zach the other night, who's reviewing it for us. He's kind of finishing that up now. He wanted to play some of the end game and stuff. And he's a big comic guy. We talked through the beginning, so I don't want to, it's not really spoilers, but they kind of give you this cool overview of everything that's happened in Arkham at the beginning of the game. It's really well done. And he was commenting about some of the distaste from players around what the game is showing related to Batman or Superman and killing the Justice League. To Hogue's point, it's literally in the title. They told you this is what we were doing, when they debuted this game years ago. But Zach's point was, this is the darker part of the Arkhamverse, and there are stories and comics, as we know, that tell this. Like he was saying, there's stories that show Harley Quinn killing hundreds of people. Like, she could be a very dark character, and I think that Rocksteady kind of took some of that foundation and wanted to tell their own story in this universe with these characters. And I wish that more people were kind of open to that instead of expecting to just follow the same old. I like personally, and I'm not a diehard. I've talked about this. I'm not super invested in the comic space, and maybe that's why. But I like the fact that they're doing something different here and that they're trying to tell something unique. And yes, to Hogue's other earlier point, I told someone the other day, this is like if you took The Division and threw on a wacky, crazy superhero skin on top of it. That's what this game feels like. You're running around this huge open world, getting loot. You have skill trees that it's kind of got some Borderlands elements to it a little bit. It is a little disjointed at times and what it's trying to do in different, ways. But the comments have said, there's a lot in the end game. I got a comment here from Sketch saying that the itemization of the gear in the end game is actually better than Diablo 4 somehow. Multiple set bonuses to grind for, hidden effects, gear synergy. I was surprised. And I'm hearing that from other people as well, that it's actually quite good. So I maybe it's my personal, as Hogue said, I like these kind of games, and maybe that's why I'm enjoying it more. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's been a weird time for this game. And as always, you see, you kind of feel for the developers in a way, in the sense of, there's people that put a lot of work and effort and years of their life into this game for it to just be kind of crapped on in some ways. And that's
I will agree with you on one of the points, which is that I do see a lot of people maybe not liking this game more than they would have if they weren't constantly thinking of the Arkham series while playing it, right? Because I think there are some people who are maybe enjoying it less because it isn't what they wanted it to be. It isn't a multiplayer, or it isn't a single player game. They went this totally opposite multiplayer direction. Yeah, I think some people have an issue with that. That said, you can accept that somebody has made a premise for a game and still not like that premise, right? You can accept that, oh yeah, they wanted to make this dark game, but if your premise for a game is that I get to play as a soldier in the Nazi regime, I don't have to go, okay, well, once you look past that, is it a good game? I can say, well, that sucks as a premise. I think there's some people who just we're never going to click with this game as a premise. I don't know if that was the case of our reviewer, and I don't know enough about that person's personal preferences, but I do think that is a fair critique of some of the criticism of this game, which is like, how much were you already hating this game because it wasn't a single player Arkham sequel already?
Yeah, that's why I'm not getting it.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm not a big fan of the Suicide Squad. I'm not a big fan of these characters in general. And I was actually pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed this more than both of the Suicide Squad movies. And honestly, if I were to characterize this storyline and what I've played so far in this game, I'm about halfway through, I would guess. I would say that it is stronger than any recent DC movie that I can think of.
So
I mean,
not a high bar.
But yeah. Not the highest bar in the world, but it's still that universe. So
the early hours I played, I really liked the story and the characters, and that's all I've played so far. So
I was very surprised by the level of exposition for the characters early in the game. I did not expect that out of this game. And to Dan's point, at the end of the day, Dan was not interested in this game because of the type of game it was. You know what he did? He's not playing it. It's really simple. It's really simple.
Listen, here's the thing. We have now access to a gigantic buffet of media outlets, of stories, of reviews and stuff. When you choose to go for the steaming hot pile of poo every single time and then get upset because it's a steaming pile of poo, then that's your fault. I'm just telling you guys. It's not.
I'm going to say that a little bit differently.
I'm just saying, IGN is not the only one that put out an article about, hey, we're not, we're not getting a review. This is what happened. Forbes did it. I saw Paul Tassi tweet out about it. There's a couple other ones. Everybody does that, right? Sometimes it just doesn't happen. I don't buy the server thing because I've seen plenty of games that have servers turned on early for reviews.
I can explain the server thing.
Maybe, yeah, whatever. But here's the thing.
Which is that some people. Okay, you finish your thing, but I will explain the thing.
You're watching a podcast of a very small channel that one man basically runs with a bunch of other people. That that has no ads. When you go to our website, you can go look there and check it out. There's a lot of other ones too around that are out there. If you don't like IGN, don't go read them. If you don't like Kotaku, don't read them. Guys, just you make the decisions, not these other people. Don't react. Everything's all reactionary, so just stop. I mean, you can sit there and blame them and say, oh, these guys are biased, and stop reading them. Stop reacting to them. Then they'll stop, or they'll go away. So I don't know what to tell you.
Or at least
I can sit here and blame these big companies, but in the end, It's really us, the consumers, who make the decisions.
All right,
You know.
now Travis has to go back to his boss and explain why he was on a video that said "Stop reading IGN."
Oh, go ahead.
That's fine. I think I'm allowed to say that. I can say, "Hey, look, I never read my stuff." Yeah, I mean, they hired me. Obviously, they wanted fewer readers.
Yeah.
So
The server thing.
So the server thing. Yeah, I want to talk about that. So reviewing a live service game does have its own difficulties. It does. It just does. Some games they just don't have live servers for a variety of reasons, because if it's a brand new game, they're more likely to have live servers before the game is up, like Diablo 4, where you can hop in and play it. And then usually when the game actually comes out, they reset the server and all progress gets deleted and you play again. There's other games like Destiny. Yeah, remember how much that hurt? I played like 150 hours or whatever, and lost it all. There's other games where, like, if the game is already out, you cannot do an early access review. Like Destiny, for example, that game already exists, so they can't spin up separate servers for the review, because if you open the game, you're in the server with everyone else. And so it becomes really hard to like create a second set of servers just for a review period. I've never seen that happen. What I have seen happen with some of those games is they bring reviewers out to their office and you play on a local server, a updated version of the game, and you do the review there. You play the whole game for like 2 or 3 days or a week or however long it takes, and then you go home and you write your review. Though that's a great way to do it, but not all teams have budget for that. And in the case of WB, they just got done having a disastrous preview event, which, by the way, universally lauded. Like, people did, or sorry, not lauded, universally criticized. The previews were not positive. And my understanding about that event is that it was a very poorly run event with lots of technical difficulties and stuff like that. And so it's possible that they just didn't want to go through that whole thing, right? And then, or maybe it was strategic. Maybe it was a thing like with the original Doom review, where the reviews weren't great, and then the game came out and everybody loved it, and then that made Bethesda not want to do review copies for like a year or whatever. I will say that it's very uncommon for people to not have any answer for reviews. It's less common in the live service space because there are technical issues there. I have no doubt that it was part technical difficulty and part maybe they made the decision to not.
I'm going to lean on the second part of that, because
I think it might have been a decision. And frankly, I don't have a problem with developers making that decision if they want. I do think they're shooting themselves in the foot, because I think, despite what you might read in comments and people saying nobody cares about IGN reviews or whatever, I do think there are vast swaths of people who come to reviews to know if they should spend their money on the game the day it comes out. And I think those people find it extremely helpful to have a review a day or two before the game comes out. And so I think you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot if you don't let people play your game early. But it's up to everyone, and I disagree with Destin's claims of what their motives might have been behind denying a review to or a review code to IGN or anything like that. I honestly just think WB might have seen the backlash from their first PR attempt and said, maybe we'll just play it cool and let the fans decide what they want. And that's certainly a strategy you can go. I mean, I think I disagree with it on a strategic level, but you do you.
And what I thought Dan was saying earlier, which I was going to add to, but he wasn't saying this at all, was that right now in early 2024, with Infinite Wealth out there, with Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown out there, with everything that came out in 2023 out there, it's difficult for me to self-select to go play Suicide Squad, even if I personally think it's like a 6 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10. I don't have it at the top of my list. So it's that period of time in video gaming. We are lousy with riches as it stands right this second. So if you don't love something, it's harder to get it on your box and playing it on your TV. I think I mentioned a couple of months ago, I started playing Forspoken again, and I didn't hate it. It's like a pure 7, but against everything else that I could be playing, it felt like a waste of time every time I turned it on. Exactly. And I'm not sure I'm going to proceed with Suicide Squad all the way to the end, because it's not that compelling to actually play. For me, I really like the story, but I'm a single player narrative world guy, and this is not the kind of game I would have made for myself just to experience this story. So it's a really weird product. I understand why it's a little bit controversial. I'm glad it has the story it has in it, but I don't enjoy playing it as much as someone like Ains does.
Fair, all fair. I'll wait for your video saying about how Rocksteady is dead and they've ruined your dreams. So look for that this week on Hope.
For sure. Hey, that is an opinion. You can publish it. I mean, I don't know how people would react, but you're totally allowed to do it. I just want to say I am very proud of how this panel has handled this. I think this is how it should be.
Were you worried about us?
I mean, you don't know. You don't know. Sometimes Dan can go off the rails and say crazy stuff, but I think this is. I'm comfortable with the way that we talked about it.
Yeah, me too. That's why I like to have these conversations. Dan, I fully get your point of us talking about it only further compounds the issue of other people talking about it. I do get that. But to Travis's point, I think that we have a good way here, and why I love you guys so much is I think we talk about these things in a way that a lot of other channels don't or can't. So
reasonable minds can differ.
Exactly. Right. So, all right, let's get caught up on some of these super chats because there's all kinds of thoughts on here. So let's go.
All right, Gio Rio, €22 super chat. Thank you, Gio. I feel the negativity got people talking, and that became the hype for YouTube and socials. As an Arkham follow-up, the game takes the same high standards for dialogue and story and cutscenes. Looking forward for the DLCs. Fun.
You forgot your quotes on DLCs. Fun there, my friend.
Yeah, quote unquote.
Yes, they are doing Elseworlds, and they are the most exciting thing about their roadmap for this game are new playable characters, which is awesome.
How are they going to fold that into the story, right? Or is that
I don't know.
I'm told we have to get to the end, Dan.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, that's what Alex and Zach have been talking about behind the scenes at SG2. Is that they kind of close the game leading into what's coming.
Gotcha.
So Joker is first. There's apparently a data mine leak that talks. I won't say it, but that talks about the next 2 characters after Joker. But I think just. If you think about like a Borderlands where they usually launches with the 4 characters and then they have an expansion to add 1 or 2 down the line, I think it's really cool that we're getting new playable characters this quickly. And clearly they had a lot of this development in place because the designer of the Elseworlds, if I said that right, has already showed some of the footage of like Joker's world, and it looks amazing.
I still say their Vidocs, their dev videos for this game were the best I have seen in years.
Really good.
Like they took really me from zero to buying it.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I also want to just put a reminder out there that live service games are famous for their ability to bounce back from terrible launches or middling launches. I gave Destiny 1 a 6 out of 10 when it launched, and I stand behind that review. And it has certainly had at least times where it was better than a 6 out of 10. So,
current score for Destiny.
Interestingly, it kind of rounded back around to a 6, but it for a while there, it was a real comeback story. So all I'm saying is the launch doesn't always define your game. If you actually invest in it and you keep working on it, you can address all the concerns that people have. You can make the end game better, and you can earn your place in the pantheon of great live service games.
I mean, they have,
I hope they do that. I hope they do that here. Really do.
They have the first 4 seasons basically worked out already. So clearly they've got a lot of effort, for the.
I think the Elseworlds Joker looks rad. I think that this game is overall a good one. And I'm sorry to see a lot of the negativity around it, but I hope that it stays the course because I think it would be good to add to the games that I come back to, like Diablo 4. And we didn't even talk about it since the last episode, but we've got a new season of Diablo 4, which I am told from various corners of the internet is great or awful. So, take your poison.
What? Who says it's awful?
People that don't like traps.
Aww.
There's a lot of that going around, Travis. But I still love Diablo 4. You got a little spider buddy now. It's fantastic.
I love it.
Check it out.
I think it's the best season. Yeah, I love it.
Some people think it's the worst. So, hey,
that's always going to be the case with Diablo. That's just how that audience can be. Thank you, Gio. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Don's here.
Don, $10. Good day, cast and crew. Happy Final Fantasy VII Rebirth month. Anyone else buy
Darn tootin'.
This is buy the super fancy edition from the Square Enix store.
Nope.
Gonna finish Judgment and play Grand Blue Fantasy
Nice.
Relink. In the meantime,
Nice.
keep on casting.
We shall do.
Yeah,
Don.
Grand
I
Blue
think
Fantasy is like the only thing that's come out that I have self-selected to not purchase this month. I was not as compelled by the demo as I'd hoped to be.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I know Alex has finished it. His review will be up soon at SG. I don't know what he scored it off the top of my head yet, but
I think
I know
Infinite
people are
Wealth is going
enjoying
to take me right to Rebirth.
Okay. I think I'm one of like 8 people not buying Rebirth. I think everyone else on the planet's excited for it, but me.
I mean, I'll buy it, but I didn't love the remake.
I adore the remake game. I think the plot choices were a mistake, but I think that's the best
why
system that they put into a game.
I didn't like it
Gotcha.
specifically because of the story changes, and it sounds like they're doubling down on that in this one. So I'm like,
Well, I mean, I guarantee you that the end of remake was to set up one classic change to the original story, and I would be surprised if they don't go through with that. So I think that's going to raise some articles on IGN, would be my guess.
I would it's kind of a shame because it's from everything I've heard, the battle system in the remake is
Fantastic.
awesome. And I wish I would have had that battle system from what I've heard in Final Fantasy 16 personally, but oh well. Don follows up with another one.
Another $2. Literally never seen Dan so passionate. Wow.
You were on fire today, Mr. Rodriguez.
Let me tell you something. There's certain things that just drive me crazy, and this is one of them. Like just like complaining for the sake of complaining. Then we're complaining about complaining. It's dumb. Like I don't know how people have this much time, right, on their hands to get so upset with other people's opinions. I just don't care. Like I don't care what you are doing politically, game opinion wise.
I just love this is the pitch for our opinion show. I love this.
Who cares? Yeah, you don't have to care about our opinions. They're not always good. Mine
but we still advocate for people to watch with us, Dan.
Yeah.
By the way, years ago, when it was just me, Dan, and Guess, we had a rant section of the show, and this was commonplace. So
yeah.
Nice.
I have to get it out, man.
I love
Every
it.
once in a while, you've got to, get it out there. It's fine.
Don,
Thanks,
you.
Don.
We gotta
Thanks,
fill a
Don.
3-hour podcast.
Yeah. Shoes with the $5. While internet was drowning, or €5, I'm sorry, was drowning in nonsense, I finally started my first proper playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3 as a half-drow Dark Urge Necro Wizard.
Wow, that is a
Yikes.
horrifying way to do your first playthrough.
Yeah, that is rough. That is going to be rough for you, but awesome.
You're going to collect severed limbs for 40 hours.
Sounds like my weekend.
Coffee gamer with the Canadians. $2 I don't know, guys. I'm the last to go get down on IGN, but those weekend editorials on Suicide Squad were not necessary. And the score that means it's only 1 point higher than Gollum. Wow.
I mean, I'll certainly agree that weekend editorials are not necessary.
They're not necessary though.
But they're
them necessary because that's the double negative. No.
No,
not necessary.
We're not necessary. Yeah.
Right,
so
necessary?
They're saying that it was necessary.
Yes.
No, I'm assuming they meant not necessary, but
well, I mean, that can be a double negative or it can be a negative for emphasis, right? I'm going to take it as an emphasis negative.
Well, we need some commas in there if it's going to be emphasis.
I found the punctuation of the super chats isn't always.
Yeah, no, I totally get the criticisms of whether it was tactful to post it, and I think that there were some people on the team who thought, guys, let's just chill because people are losing their crap over this and it looks bad, and I think there were other people on the team who were like, who cares if it looks bad? This is what we believe, and we're gonna do our job. And I think that is. I
can imagine this conflict.
Yeah, I can. I think that is if you have a media outlet that's having those types of discussions, I would say it's a pretty good media outlet. So I'm happy to be a part of that crew. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, the score maybe a little harsh. I haven't played it, so I don't know. I have not played the.
Got it. Gollum got a 4. That actually sounds a little high. I didn't.
Yeah, honestly, I honestly think, here's my opinion on this one. I think we have a lot of editors who are a little fearful of the bottom of the review pack.
The 1 to 3 range.
they seem a little more fearful than me, because I think based on what I've played of Gollum, it should have maybe been a little lower, and maybe that's a problem. But I'll tell you, read my reviews. Last year I had every score except for a 1.
Like it blows my mind that like how many people that don't understand still to this day that IGN has more than one reviewer. So just
I don't think Travis functionally can give a 1. It's labeled unbearable and talks about not being able to stand the game. I don't think that's within Travis's genome.
I'm really trying to find one, Hogue, and I think if I had gotten to review what was the game last year that imploded, Days Gone? No.
Oh no, Day Before.
Day Before, I think I would. That got a 1 from us, and I think I would have given that game a 1. But we have that last one, the Day Before, was our first one, and I think over a decade. So I kind of missed my chance.
Yeah,
I kind of missed my chance to ever give a 1. I'm gonna have to wait a long time unless somebody cooks up a hot turd. Because the problem with finding 1s is they both have to be really bad, and people have to care enough about it to justify a review, and that is a really tough combo to come by. And the Day Before just happened to be that perfect golden section of really bad game with a lot of interest around it.
For those that are interested, 2 is already painful, and it seems to be the baseline for like as low as Travis would get. I just can't imagine him not being able to bear something.
Yeah, that's pretty true. I have a pretty high tolerance for this stuff, so.
I sent over Skibbity Escape from Toilets to you, to try and review the other day. But apparently the Steam reviews are very positive. So what do I know?
There you go. Yeah, no, it's the game's isn't it already out in some form or whatever?
I think it's early access. I think.
Hogue, if it makes you feel any better, I also thought I would never give a 10 because my standards are so high for a 10, and that ended up happening. So who knows? Maybe a 1's around the corner. You never know.
By the way, shout out to Mark Zuckerberg referring to your review.
My review. Yeah, that was weird.
Crazy.
I got a bunch of text messages that day. They were like, dude, Mark Zuckerberg's invoking your name. What's up? Dude, I was like, what? That was crazy.
That's crazy. Coffee Giver, thank you. Always appreciate the support.
Go play Asgard's Wrath 2, everyone. Please.
Yes.
I have played it. It's a lot for me.
Hope's like, it's no Suicide Squad, but
it's clearly better than Suicide Squad.
Hey,
okay,
it's a great
but
game,
it is.
Dude. I love that.
It's hard to play for long periods of time. I really don't know how Travis did it.
I'm a psychopath.
Yeah, that's true. Gio Rio with the member comment: the end game is much deeper than seen in the first few rounds of the end game. I think it's a sin to post the end scene. Sorry, my opinion. Enjoy.
Never have to be sorry about your opinion. You're good, Gio. Yeah, I'm excited to get to the end game. I'm very excited to kind of get to that loot, me with loot games. So to get to that loot grind. Yeah.
It's definitely got a lot of design elements. I think the one concern I have with Suicide Squad is it might be like overly designed. The systems are interlocking in a way that I don't love, and it creates a kind of vanilla flavor that I don't enjoy as much as
there is an awful lot going on. Yeah, it could have been refined is probably a good word to some degree, I think.
Refined.
Yeah.
All right. Magnus Prime. This is funny, the 49 super chat, because Travis literally just sent.
We were just talking about this.
On the positive side, the Apollo Justice Collection that came out is a great user experience. Easy recommendation for Ace Attorney fans. After Yakuza, I have decided to try out something. I just need Here's the thing, though. I need what order should I play them in, kind of thing.
I will help you.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's easy.
All right. I don't know.
Well, I have an odd opinion
one
this
time.
One.
So
you're gonna throw Apollo Justice in between the original trilogy? Is that what you're gonna do?
No, I have.
Yeah, you're gonna do release order
for some reason. I think Dual Destinies is kind of the best one to start at. To be honest. Which I know is an unhinged take, but I'll explain my.
That is no. I don't think these guys know how unhinged that is. You can't start at the end, man.
It's not the end. It's close to the end. But anyway, the reason I think that's good, Hogue, is because that was actually how I played it. I'd never played Ace Attorney before, and I reviewed Dual Destinies, having very little understanding of a visual novel. Speaking of scores, I regret. And I reviewed that game just from a complete novice perspective, and then I loved it so much I went back and played all the old ones and became like a diehard Ace Attorney fan. But I have played the Apollo Justice Collection. I have absolutely no justification to sink more time into playing these 3 games that I've already beaten multiple times each, but I'm going to anyway because I love them so dang much. This is the best collection game that this company has ever put out. It's perfectly upgraded. They fixed some stuff. They added really cool Easter eggs and museum things that you can look at on your spare time, and it feels really cohesive. Which, to me, Apollo Justice, Dual Destiny, and Spirit of Justice were never a trilogy. I always viewed Apollo Justice as like an in-between game, in between kind of the two, what I thought was going to be a trilogy, and now they're kind of repurposing them as 2 trilogies. But it actually does make sense the way that they put them together. I don't know. I love these games so much, and I sent Dan a chart that draws parallels between how Ace Attorney has told its story and how the Yakuza series has told its story. And if you haven't seen this image, it's absolutely amazing. But Yakuza is kind of following in the footsteps of Ace Attorney before it, and doing a really good job with their story. And they're 2 stories I absolutely love. So I think we finally got Dan to maybe try one.
Yeah,
but yeah, dude, I love these games.
You'll like Ace Attorney, Dan. It's got that same kind of zaniness.
Yeah, I think I've played
Yakuza series.
a little bit of one, and then something came out and kind of took my attention away.
Yeah,
I'm curious as to what Travis graded Dual Destinies that he now regrets, because I would have it as like an 8.
I think I gave it an 8, and I think
you regret that.
I think I would have given it a higher score in retrospect. I really like.
I got you, Travis. I got you.
There it is. Yes, yes,
crap.
yes.
Let me get this off. There you go.
So yeah, why Yakuza fans should play Ace Attorney. It has an original series that ends with a send-off for the main characters. Then it has a sequel series. Yeah. Then it has a sequel series that introduces new lead, quickly reintroduces older, wiser original lead, and culminates in a game where they are dual protagonists. The original creator leaves the studio or franchise during the series. They also both have a spin-off series with different lead and new investigation gameplay elements. Although on the Ace Attorney side, the sequel was never localized, which really hurts me. You have to play a fan translation for the sequel on that one. And then finally, they both have a spin-off set in the late 1800s with either ancestors or likeness of the main characters.
Crazy, man.
Which is nuts. Yeah, this is a crazy image.
Well,
shout out to my buddy Simon at IGN who posted this.
No, I like that. It's cheating a little bit with the judgments in the corner there, since they're not formally the Yakuza series.
Same universe.
Oh, that's true. It's the same universe.
Well, they don't follow on with like that. So that you use that for your investigation point, but then you go back to Ichiban is the guy that connects with Kiryu. It's fine. It's fine. I'm just
that's also
that's a stolen base right there.
That's also true in the Edgeworth game as well, though. Because it's using a character from the main one, and then it does connect back to the main story too. If you haven't played the Miles Edgeworth investigation games,
I literally don't know the Edgeworth games.
Oh, they're so good. I mean, the investigation mechanic is weird, and I understand why the games weren't popular enough to ever be localized, or at least the sequel. But I love them so much. They're great. All great games.
Nice.
All right. Ace Attorney, more Ace Attorney to come with Dan's opinions. Stay tuned.
I want more Ace Attorney.
I gotta believe they're bringing this thing back.
It may be 3 years before I finish Yakuza, to be fair, because this thing is huge.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
He'll play it 3 times
for sure. Butterball 8.
No, I'm gonna be rooting for the 49ers. I'm sorry, Butterball.
Go Chiefs.
Yeah, we got Hogue. Woo!
I don't think you guys understand what the Chiefs win is tied to. You guys understand. You do not. So, if you knew, you might be rooting for the Chiefs. Just telling you, if you like Dan a little bit.
Nobody else but you would be rooting for the Chiefs with that outcome.
I'm not on board, Taylor Swift is a psyop or anything, but Travis Kelce was driving me absolutely nuts in the AFC Championship game. Like, he was maximum 1980s villain douchebag.
Yeah.
So I'm off the Chiefs train.
I don't hear Hogue say that word ever. No, that was great.
Yeah,
that's
I like
awesome. Yeah, I think there's you have a hard time saying that Purdy is at that level for sure. Mr. Irrelevant, guys.
My team at work asked me who I'm rooting for given San Francisco and Kansas City, and I said, look, I born in San Francisco, 49ers fan my whole life. Now I've lived in Kansas City for 12, 13 years. I'm kind of good either way. It'd be cool to see the 49ers win. Yeah, it's a win-win because if the 49ers win, that's awesome. They get their 6th title. They get revenge for 3 years ago, et cetera. Purdy and Right. Was it 4 years ago? Yeah, 4 years ago.
2020.
And that's awesome. If the Chiefs win, it's kind of cool just because they would literally be at that spot where they're making history, right? And I don't know, it's just cool to see guys like that go nuts at times. I don't know.
Go Niners! Bang bang.
Yeah.
For the record, I think the Chiefs will win, but I will be rooting.
I don't think they'll win.
I have to say my heart is saying Niners, but my head does say the Chiefs are probably going to win this. But you know, don't sleep on them. The Niners surprise you, man. That's all I'm saying. Faithful.
The universe usually hates me, so the Chiefs will for sure lose.
All I say about the 49ers is when you're up in the third quarter, stop celebrating, because that's what happened last time. And
acting like winners.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Eleanor.
Member comment. I had lots of fun, quote unquote fun today. Glad that you guys are back. Really missed you last week. Thanks, Eleanor.
Thanks, comment every week.
While.
Always awesome engagement. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we haven't even talked about the state of play yet, guys, which Hogue
oh my God.
was extremely high on. So yeah.
I'm gonna do my best. I didn't know we had more. Yeah. So the state of play. So a couple of things here jumped out at me. First of all, this was my favorite state of play that Sony's ever put up. And I gave it an A+ on social media. A number of people yelled at me. That's fine. That's social media. That's why you're there. But one thing I didn't realize when I said it was an A+ and that people got really upset about was that there were no Sony first-party games shown at this state of play. And I have to be honest with you, gentlemen, I didn't notice. And I think that speaks to me as much about how I feel about Sony's first-party output. Like I just don't miss it. I don't need, another Last of Us. I don't need another leaning between crevices.
That did sound funny.
That was funny. Yeah, I don't miss it.
You didn't mean anything by it. You're being positive, but just the way it came off, like they didn't have any first party. I don't miss it. It just sounded.
I don't think he was being positive. I think he was saying
well, he's being positive about the show, though. About
I think the show was great, and I don't miss it. And that was surprising to me because I do understand people to come in and say, how could you like a show that doesn't have anything from their first party? And to me, I just didn't care. But you show, you tell me that I'm going to get a state of play for Rebirth, which is almost certainly going to have a demo drop. And I get really excited about that. You show me the best Kojima trailer in maybe a decade. And I know you're not a Kojima fan, Ains. And I understand people.
Me? I love the guy. What are you talking about?
I understand people that don't love that style, but that Death Stranding 2 trailer was, as the kids say, fire.
What's it called? Back to the
that
Beach?
In a couple years, buddy.
Sound like an 80s.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is lit.
Lit.
No, still old.
It is the bomb.
Wow, you're getting worse.
Yeah,
it's radical. You gotta do that one. Yeah. God, dude. Poggers.
That trailer was bitching.
I find out because my son texts me this stuff all the time. I'm like, what the hell does that mean?
No cap.
Yeah, no cap.
Just throwing out any phrase you've heard.
No cap.
I'm laughing, but I'm just as bad. Like I see some of the stuff my kids say, and I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about? What does this mean?"
I learned all
but
the
in all
latest
honesty,
lingo.
In all honesty, I thought that state of play had really interesting things that were new and different. I'm not as excited about some of them as other people are. I don't think Rise of the Ronin is made for me, for instance, but it looked interesting to try. I don't think Stellar Blade is made for me, but I think we can still look at a show and say those games aren't necessarily for me and say that they were interesting things to put on. And unlike the last state of play that started with the guy walking down the hill that I hated, this one was really, really interesting. And I enjoyed almost everything that they had to show. I think that the Xbox show and now the state of play were very strong. I'm looking forward to Nintendo's next show, but
nice.
That's my opinion. I didn't even notice that there were no Sony first party games until I got the comments back on my tweet. So what do you all think?
I'll say with Hogue because I'm mostly in agreement with him. I don't care about Rise of Ronin. I'm really sick of those types of games. I don't need another one. I don't need more I'm a samurai with a sword games. I really don't. And I also, as you guys know, though I appreciate the story of Death Stranding, I think that game was extremely boring. And I think Death Stranding 2 might be boring as well. So
guys, you know how much I disagree with Travis, but that might be his worst take in his entire life.
Why?
was
It's
not
a boring
Because
game.
Death Stranding
Come on.
is not boring. And in fact, Death Stranding, people make fun of it because of some of the imagery you see in the
It's
trailers
fun.
and things.
boring. Yeah, nice, nice. Ames.
People make fun of it from some of the stuff
Fun.
that's in the trailers, but it is probably by the end credits, the story from Hideo Kojima that makes the most sense. That is the most
Yes.
vetted. That is
Oh no,
the most.
I don't have a problem with the
100%.
story. Just to be clear, I think the story's good. I just didn't like playing it. To me, it was boring to play. I had the
Well, and this
gameplay
is
was
why
a
we don't use the
chore.
word
The
fun,
story was
right?
the
Because
reward.
I think that Death Stranding works because it's so hard to traverse those areas and you feel like you've earned it when you've made it to these spots. And I think that's part of the feeling that the game evokes. Is that fun? No, it's quote unquote fun. It's engaging.
Did you
It's
just say it's very
gratifying.
challenging to overcome and then gratifying? Because I can direct you to other games that are that way.
Oh man.
I've played a lot of games, Zanes.
I was joking about the From games, Souls
Yeah,
games.
same FromSoft. Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it's just that I didn't think the story was worth the squeeze of having to sit through the game. The playing the game part is what offended me. I think the story was great, and I will play the sequel. I will. If it is anything like the first one, I will have qualms. This is
Electric
one of the
Guitar, Mad Max, Joker, Troy Baker. You gotta play for.
This is one
Typical
of the
cliche from the brilliant genius.
This is actually one of the times that I agree pretty much spot on with my fellow reviewer at IGN with the Death Stranding IGN review. That was my experience. It was like, hey, the story's good, but like, dude, look at what they make you do during the missions, and then we just play a whole mission and super fast forward speed for you to show you what the game is like. So yeah, watch that review if you're wondering where I'm coming from. But yeah, all the other stuff I thought was really cool. Silent Hill, I'm excited for. I'm interested in the what was it called? Zenless Zone Zero or Zen? Am I getting that right?
Yes, Triple Z. Yes,
Triple Z. Yeah, that one looked cool. Yeah, there was a new Sonic thing. Yeah,
Sonic
cool.
X Shadow Generations coming this fall.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think a lot of it was really good. I also do not like Until Dawn. That game really bothered me. So
I really like Until Dawn, but it's a little bit close to the Last of Us remaster, which is that already looked great. I'm not sure it needed a full-on remastering. They said they got a new score. I'm not sure that's a great idea for a remaster project.
I don't know why you need a new
Isn't it a
score for that
remake?
game.
Is it a remake or a remaster?
I mean, I think it's remade in terms of it being ground up, but it's not a remake like Final Fantasy. It's designed to be the same game.
Yeah.
That
game just didn't click with me. The story I thought was stupid. I don't want to.
It was silly, but I mean, I like those games are just goofy. They're goofy. Fun.
What's weird is I like all the other games they've made. I like all of the Dark. What is it? The
Dark Pictures anthology.
Dark Picture
Until
anthology?
Dawn is much better than the Dark Pictures anthology.
I don't know. I disagree. To me,
I think it's better. I'd say it's better than Man of Medan, which wasn't that great. But
that's true. That one was not very good. But I really like. Did you play the
one in the town,
the vampires and the?
Yeah,
the one in the town was
Iraq?
good too. The one of the vampires in Iraq. Yeah, I thought that was a really good one.
Yeah.
I don't hate any of them.
I'm the only one I think that like Rise of the Ronin. Like that's.
Oh no, I'm interested in it.
Yeah,
I'm interested in it.
I know you said like this is. I've had enough of those. I want more of those.
Oh God!
Listen, I know it doesn't push the envelope on creativity. I don't care. Yes, I love it because then Assassin's Creed Red is in production apparently. So we're gonna have more of that. Give me more. I'm a big fan of this.
Yeah, man.
Whole Japanese culture.
I love feudal
systems.
systems.
Ghost of Tsushima too. It's
more
coming too.
feudalism, please.
Love that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, everything else.
I have Jin sitting right there next to me.
He's amazing. So Death Stranding, I think it looks like it might be a little bit more actiony, maybe get a little bit more Troy Baker.
I think the trailer in Death Stranding 2 was deliberately designed to say you're going to shoot some more stuff in this game.
Yeah, I love Death Stranding. I mean, I had a really good time with it. I think I gave it like a 9.
You reviewed it for us.
Yeah. It was super, and yeah, you're right. That was the only Kojima game I ever played through and actually understood the story at the end. I was like, okay, this actually makes sense. It's not. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but I understand it. I mean, I can't say that with most Kojima games. So, I'm excited for a new one. We'll see how they do. Wasn't expecting one. There it is. Yeah, the art of Death Stranding. Hey, let me ask you this question real quick before we go a little bit further, just for future reference. What is our moratorium on spoilers? Like, how old does the game have to be where we can freely hear the four of us and the chat talk about a game without having to worry about, oh, you're spoiling stuff? Because I remember
That's actually
You're not allowed to
question.
spoil anything with a pending sequel.
Well, I think maybe
They break
maybe you're
sequels
not-
like
what if
20
what
years
is the
later
pet thing?
now.
Yeah,
what if
I mean,
we've
that's
all
what-
played it? I would say maybe you're not allowed to spoil anything that not all four of us haven't played that we intend to.
Eh.
Well,
Maybe
no,
just
but I
ask
think
for
Dan's more thinking
consent
about the
before spoiling.
audience.
Yeah. Like audience. Like if it's
You know,
a year
there's
out,
people listening.
That's what
I'll be honest. I do the show as if we don't have commenters or viewers.
Yeah.
I'm just hanging out with you guys.
like,
You guys
I
have
will
been
never-
recording it this whole time? Oh my god, dude!
You just
I've
announced
said
the
some
number of viewers,
indictable
and Travis
shit.
is like, wow.
My god, dude, this is not good.
It's hard to talk about some of this stuff without, even like a year or two out. I mean, I don't care what
I think it is a good question, Dan, because I don't think there's a clear answer, but I'd like to hear from Chad. Like, put your
Yeah.
thoughts on that if you want to, because
What do you
I don't
think?
really know.
Chat. Tell us what you think the
Like,
moratorium.
if
like a year, 2 years,
or I think at the very least, if we feel it's borderline, year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is, we can at least say, hey, we're about to say this. Let people maybe fast forward a bit, or know that it's coming.
Yeah. So I think I spoiled something. I think it was, I can't remember who it was for. It was Red
Couple
Dead
years.
Redemption 2. And I said something about the main character. It's like, hey, that's kind of spoiler. I'm like, listen, the game's been out for like 5 years. If you haven't played it yet, then tough. That's kind of the way I look at it. But I would never also spoil something probably 6 months out, because people have jobs and, they have stuff to do. Maybe even a year, I would say it's fine. Unless you're tuning in specifically for a spoiler cast, this is something I thought about going forward. I was going to say something about Death Stranding, but I'm like, I don't
Yeah,
know if I
save that
should.
one. It's
You
got
won't
a
hear me talk
sequel.
about Death Stranding or BB or Higgs or Cliff or anything else that happens in that game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
save
Yeah.
that one for people who are going to play. The
I'm sure,
sequel.
because it's a
Right.
good point. I'm sure there are people who are now going to play the first one, right, to prepare for the second. So
because they
Final
saw Troy
Fantasy.
Baker, they're like, well, now I got to play the first one.
have you seen that guy's hats? I have to play that first one now.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dan. I'm not super hyped on Rise of Ronin, but I'm interested in it.
I'm interested in it.
Mhm.
And
I know a
Stellar
lot of
Blade,
people are
Yeah.
Stellar Blade. It's not my type
Yeah.
of game, but there's people I know that are hyped for it. So
looks fun,
It's
but
good.
I don't.
What do you guys
never
think of
played.
Dave the Diver meets
Godzilla?
Godzilla?
That's awesome. That's
Hell yeah.
awesome.
I-
I mean, I haven't played Dave the Diver, so I don't know how it fits.
How?
But
Play it, bro.
Dave
Come
the Diver
on.
is great. It is the infinite wealth of indie likes.
It's true.
Oh.
nice.
Oh.
Nice. I also hear, and Travis, I don't remember how long you say in your review, but Pampa was playing it, saying it's longer than he thought it would be.
It is pretty long. It's like 25
Oh, it's
hours.
hella
maybe.
long.
25
20,
hours. Wow.
25,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected that. Silent Hill, I'm obviously in. Short message
Are
is out
you?
now, which is what?
So I played the short message.
Yeah.
It's not awful, but I'm not sure that Konami or whoever made that have their fingers on the pulse of what makes Silent Hill interesting.
Of
It
Silent
sounds
Hill.
like an IGN headline. Silent Hill. It's not awful.
I want
No,
people to
sorry.
understand it's essentially
joking.
a PT type game, right? You're first person, you're going through hallways, you've got things hunting you, that kind of thing. But it is from a writing and message standpoint, it is as subtle as a brick to the face.
Yeah, and I think they came out afterwards and said they were trying to make a point with some of the themes in it, right? So I haven't played it yet. I downloaded it. I just haven't touched it. I mean that's a free to play, downloadable, shadow drop. So that wasn't the one I'm big on. Silent Hill 2, the remake, of course, is I've said before, Silent Hill 2 is an all-time classic horror game. It's probably one of the top 5 on a lot of people's horror game lists. That said, the gameplay didn't look that great. It looked kind of janky. I don't know.
Yeah, it did.
I don't know if they're gonna. Just fingers crossed they do that game justice, because it's like legendary in terms of horror games.
Hogue, well, would you recommend the story to people who could take a brick to the face and still not get the hint?
I mean, I don't know.
Because I've been in a few relationships
Right here, man.
where it's taken more than a brick.
It's I mean, I called it the teenage girl self-doubt simulator. It is
Okay.
again, it's not awful.
How long was
But-
it, Hope?
Wait, what did you call it?
The teenage girl self-doubt simulator.
And how long was it to play through?
Maybe an hour.
Oh, okay. I'll check it out this week then.
Which of
All
us
right.
hasn't been a teenage girl with self-doubt, though? I mean, that's
I mean,
a universal
we
story.
We can relate.
I got
Yeah.
over it. What about Judas? Ken Levine looked more
like
Bioshocky
Bioshock.
than ever.
Yeah, it looks like. I mean, it looks like I don't know. It's like, oh, we're gonna change the story. We're gonna have the same, weapon or mechanics. You got plasmids, maybe to call it something else.
I mean, honestly, it looked more imaginative than BioShock became to me. Like there was a lot of different environments and enemies in that trailer, and I'm hopeful for it to be great. Ken Levine,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this was a
weirdo.
team that he started that he got rid of, and then he rebuilt or something to make this game when he wanted to get away from BioShock. So he made BioShock. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's what it seems like.
closed down Irrational Games, yeah, and I think it's Ghost Story Games. That's his studio now.
Let him go.
Yeah.
man.
So I'm hopeful, but
Me too.
Me too.
I mean, regardless of anything, Bioshock games are like classics to me. So I'm excited to see what he makes here.
Yeah,
I meant to ask,
far out.
Yeah, it does. Is anyone playing this Foam Stars game? I meant to ask you.
I have not played it yet.
oh well.
It's on the PS Plus games
Plus.
for February, right? So
It
I'll
is,
probably get it for
yes.
February.
Yeah, I didn't know if you're gonna if your daughters are gonna check it out. I don't know how similar to like a
Splatoon.
thank you.
Mhm.
Similar to Splatoon it is. I don't know how it plays in that vein.
Honestly, I think the one thing I took away from the show is that obviously it's going to be pretty light first party year for Sony, but I don't think that matters at all because they're spending big on that third party exclusives, and I think they're going to have a great year based on what we saw.
I think
Well, Rebirth is going to be a great first quarter.
Rebirth is
game
going to
for
be
them.
huge. Yeah. I think that's what PlayStation has done well for a long time, right? Is they fill their kind of gaps, if you will, in terms of game releases. They know their cadence of whether it's first party, third party, second party, it doesn't matter. They kind of always have something kind of coming down the line on their platform, for people to look forward to. Rising really interesting. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say that's like a really interesting advantage that they have as the market leader is that they can pretty cheaply get third-party games to be exclusive.
They throw that weight around.
Their competitors can't do that. Their competitors have to acquire a whole bunch of companies and make them their internal first-party companies. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, they've done that for a long time.
Yeah.
V Rising, I'm really interested in it as an ARPG guy. Looks good.
So that is a survival crafter ARPG. That's been in early access on PC for a while. My brother loves it.
It's a survival crafter. All right. Well,
yes.
And cross that one off.
Kind of like what was that game? No, because it's like it's got ARPG elements, but it's like God, what was that game that kind of did both of those things? Was it in? This is gonna bother me, but I'll think of it.
I don't know. I'm sorry, Travis.
Yeah, it's gonna bother me. I'll think of it.
Okay.
And then, of course, the show ended with Kojima saying he's going to make a non-Metal Gear, legally compliant Metal Gear.
Metal Gear, yeah.
It's going to be decades from now or whatever, but what a great piece of news to know from a big fan of Metal Gear, right? So I really like how they presented that. I think it's too early.
Did you really?
But it's I think that was nice to hear because it's good to know that Hideo Kojima is going to be making something like that in the future, and I think that it was a nice microphone drop ending for that show.
I will say respectfully, I could not disagree more. So that's why I'm surprised to hear that. I think we've talked a lot on this show around talking about things that are not even started production, and just getting years and years ahead of yourself with announcements. And I thought Silent Hill 2, Death Stranding 2 makes a lot of sense. You show a big trailer, the fans of that game like you guys are hyped about it. Obviously, that's awesome.
That's coming out soon. I mean, the fact that it missed this year was actually the announcement there. That's why they had to do such a great trailer.
Yeah. So I think that's fantastic. I mean, that's great. But then following it up and saying, I'm going to get back to creating, as you've rightly said, Metal Gear Solid that doesn't have the Metal Gear license, whatever it ends up being. My plan is to start production on this after Death Stranding 2 releases, which doesn't even have a hard release date this year. And remember, it's freaking February. That could come out the end of 2025 for all we know. Death Stranding 2.
I'm not saying sit up in your bed and think about it and get hyped for a game that doesn't have a name yet.
You aren't?
I think it's nice to know that Hideo Kojima is going that direction.
I don't know. I think talking about a project that is possibly nearly 2 years from even starting is ridiculous. I don't think that that's something we need to be doing in the industry, where delays and everything else and things change. We've seen all kinds of chaos with game releases. If we're now announcing games that are literally just an idea, I don't know. I'm not a fan of it.
Everyone does it, and I don't think it's a good practice. I'm a big fan of tell me about it.
It's a special circumstance. The Metal Gear series is a gaming classic. It got cut off in midstream to some extent, and saying the creator of that genre of game is going to go back to it in the next decade is still useful information.
I think sometimes these announcements, I will say, I don't like it because I just don't care to hear about a game until you have something real to show me. But I think sometimes a lot of these announcements are told so that they can recruit to actually make the game, right? Like if you tell somebody, hey, we're working on the next Metal Gear game, then that means you're going to get to start posting job listings, and you're going to get people who want to work on that type of game to come and hit you up and knock on your door. And I think that can be useful from an industry perspective. At least for me, I don't know if it's very useful for a consumer perspective, which, as you guys know, is my tilt. I'm focusing on regular folks.
Yeah, I felt the same way about that as I did, just to be clear, about the OD announcement, the Xbox show that took way too much of that show. You're not showing me anything. You're just standing there.
But I don't think they wasted a lot of our time with, you're making a Metal Gear, huh?
Yeah.
If the game shows up by 2030, maybe. Okay. I mean, that's just crazy.
2030 is pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's my point. What are we even talking about?
They're hiring.
But to Hope's point, it's like a literally 20-second blurb at the end of the show. It really didn't really amount to much.
That was not 20 seconds, but okay.
No,
it was we are very expensive. We are hiring sign. That's the way I'm interpreting it, and I'm okay with that.
Well, and it's Kojima, so that the things like the pan out to the studio could be more, right? I mean, that could be something that they had done with Columbia and could be hinting to the direction they want to go. I mean, he's already saying things about it being a movie and a game at the same time. Who knows?
Same thing he said for 20 years now.
Right. And he's continued to advance.
Tell me he hasn't been saying that forever. Come on. We're going to blend movies and games.
Yeah, but I mean, it can still be a fun idea.
But he's continued to advance that.
Quantum Break was pretty cool.
Well, I think Alan Wake 2 is a better representation of that than Quantum Break. Quantum Break, the walls are a little high between the game and the show, but yeah.
But that is a blending of, yeah.
So Death Stranding.
I think it's important and fun for people to know that that's what Kojima is going to be working on eventually. And I'm not, Jeff, I'm not out there saying Kojima is the only person that's ever made a game and he's the only one worth talking about. I just tend to like his output.
You're a little simpy. Little simp hogue. That's all I'm saying.
Simp hogue.
A little bit of a Kojima simp over there.
I thought I knew what that word meant, and now I'm not sure.
I wonder what kind of sneakers Hogue's wearing right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I am shoeless.
Are you actually? Do you take off your shoes when you enter the house? Let's get a show of hands. Who doesn't wear shoes in the house?
I don't.
Asian fiance. Oh wow, all of us. Okay, surprised.
What? Who wears shoes in the house?
Normally walk around in shoes in their house?
Oh yeah, dude. I know people that are hard against it. You ask them to take off your shoes when they come into your house, and they're like, "Dude, really? You're gonna make me take off your shoes?" And I'm like,
"Well, we have next week's poll, I guess."
So. Oh, dude, that would be a great poll. That's a great poll. Do you take off your shoes when you go into the house? Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
What a show, everybody! What a show!
There's a whole Curb Your Enthusiasm episode about this where Larry David doesn't want to take off his shoes. So he asks, he's like,
"Is
really?
Elmo involved?"
That was awesome.
I wish. That's a great clip. You guys gotta
watch.
It comes back this week.
Watch Curb Your Enthusiasm and understand how I am the way I am. That's all you need to know.
It's great.
You think you're Larry David?
I have his exact personality, unfortunately. You know how they say it's a gift and a curse? Just a curse, this one, unfortunately.
And on that note, let's see. We got one more comment and super chat to get to before we wrap things up here. And make Bitcast a 3-hour show is winning yet again.
Of course it is. Member comment from Shoosh. Hot dog is a candy corn of sandwiches. I mean,
hot dogs are good. Hot dogs are good.
I
I'll
like
give
hot
you that.
dogs. Yeah.
Perfect.
Hot dogs are great. They're great sandwiches.
Have you guys?
Great candy.
Had like a gray papaya hot dog from New York City? I mean, I don't know.
A what papaya?
This place? It's called Gray Papaya.
No,
this is on my list.
I haven't been to New York in a long time, man.
You're foolish.
Really? You live
like 3 times.
I live so close.
Yeah.
What?
Comparatively.
No, I used
comparatively
to
to Californians.
Yeah.
To Californians, the Midwest is just right next to New York City.
Yeah, it's right next to it.
Honestly, it is a significantly closer experience.
So is Nevada, though. So I mean,
I can drive to Nevada. People do that. It's like 4 hours away, but like, then you have to be in Nevada.
So driving to New York from where Dan and I are is about 24 hours of driving.
24 hours? Okay.
Yeah. But no, I grew up 2 hours from New York City because I grew up outside of Philadelphia. I used to go to New York quite a bit, but I haven't been since moving out here.
Yeah.
So,
anyway,
nice.
As is candy corn. Both good things.
I still
hot dog's name with candy corn. That's some bullshit.
I still have the Red Vine candy corn stuff. I haven't even opened it yet. So it may be, touch and go.
Red Vines are better than Twizzlers, so I'll give you that.
That's terrible too. All right. Seamo's the name. Is that how you say that? Seamo is the name. $5.
Sure.
Yeah. Why not? Just here, back from church, eating one of my favorite pizzas, Little Caesars. Sorry, not sorry. Little Caesars.
This is another community within the community joke going around between some of our peer podcasts about Little Caesars either being garbage or good. And
I will take
I'm
the
afraid
opinion
I'm not allowed to
is,
comment on this topic.
It is what it is.
Wow.
It's a $5 pizza. You know what you're getting. They're not trying to.
That's what I said. It's not that it's garbage. It's just cheap pizza.
It's both hot and ready.
Those new commercials with the guy, like, he gets like the pizza and like the half breadsticks, and like, this is the best food combination ever. Then the PB&J walks in behind him, and he's like, John, no, how could you do this? And
I haven't seen that.
It's hilarious.
I will say, I'm very surprised you did a $5 super chat because that is how much you paid for your pizza.
You just bought us a Little Caesars pizza. Thank you.
But to give you the understanding of Dan's commercial, the PB&J is a man dressed as a peanut butter and jelly. He looks like a Sujimon.
Yes.
Nice. Sujimon.
Big classic taken out of one side. It looks hilarious.
By the way, why can't you comment on this, Oak? What did I miss here?
They're a client.
I cannot comment about the actions of Little Caesars Enterprises.
Yeah. There you go.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
Oh yeah, they're crazy bread, man. Got it.
He's like, I cannot comment. Just go buy their pizza.
Yeah.
Their crazy bread is good. It was good, and now it's kind of weird. But I used to eat that stuff. I'd rather hate that than the pizza because it was like it was basically like salted, garlicky bread. Nothing good about it. From an
he can't comment because he's starting his own business called Big Caesars.
We just say pizza once.
Pizza, $10.
Yeah.
Seed says, grew up in Philly where you're on the playground most of your days. I like it. Well played, sir. We've got Tunberry with Dan. This is on Hoag's side of the house, by the way.
That's fine too.
Oh, thank you, Tonberry.
Yeah, thanks for the chat, gang. You're welcome, Tonberry.
Of course.
By the way, speaking of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I had a comedian friend that I came up with, and he would do this thing where at the end of his set, he would get a guitar and then he would say, "Guys, before we leave, I just want to drop the comedy act and I want to tell you like a really serious story. So I'm gonna like sing about my childhood for you guys." And then he would just play the acoustic guitar and he would sing like a slow down version of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. and it would take like 15, 20 seconds for the audience to realize this was just the Fresh Prince theme, and they'd go, "God damn it." I think of that every time I think of Fresh Prince now.
That's great. Tom Berry, thank you for that. And then Jeremy Morton.
Jeremy Morton with a $20 super chat. 3-hour Bitcast. Travis is starving.
I'm starving too.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. I might go get some Little Caesars.
I'm starving.
Jeremy, thank you so much. You guys are very generous today. And Seeds, you're out of your mind, dude, but I appreciate you, brother. Gifting 20 season gaming membership.
Get it.
Damn.
Thanks, Seeds.
That's
a lot of
Travis, get another one. We got one last week.
Nah, some good people got memberships just now. Thank you so much, Seeds, man. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you. And then you guys are crazy today. I'm trying to close it out. We keep coming in.
WTF AATP.
Whoa.
That's too much for me. $2. Just a heads up, times are hard. Pizza is $6 now.
Okay, that's crazy. That's
asking a little much for a little.
We used to have a country.
Yeah. We used to be a country.
My favorite one that I've seen of "we used to have a country" is somebody saying that as soon as we stopped putting gargoyles on our buildings, they're like, "We used to have a country, man. We took those gargoyles off. That's when we really." I'm like, damn, that's a good point.
That's very fair. Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. Chat, you've been amazing today as always. Thank you so much. It's great to be back. You guys always fun. Love doing the show. Great turnout today as well. So we will be back next week, regularly scheduled cadence again. On the season gaming side, not too much, just a bunch of reviews to talk about. So Suicide Squad, we touched on. Grand Blue Fantasy, our Tekken 8 reviews up. Someone's on Banishers right now, which Travis also reviewed for IGN. So a lot of games coming out, a lot of reviews to cover. And then Cast Co-op, Joe, Luke, and I did catch up last week. We talked about the whole layoff situation. I gave a whole corporate perspective on that. So you can check that out if you want to. And then we wanted to talk about the Xbox games this week on this show, but we ran so long. We'll talk about that a little next week.
Long story short, they're dead. So
throw your Xbox out. It's over. It's done. Forget about it.
Get rid of it. Yep.
It's a good run. Good run.
Yep.
Travis, what you got, man?
Yeah, I've got some stuff that you can watch now. You can watch my review of Palworld. You can watch my preview of Helldivers 2, my preview of Skull and Bones Endgame. I did review Banishers. That review is completely done. I'm just waiting for the embargo to lift on the 12th. So a week from tomorrow. It's kind of a long wait for that one, but I'm completely done. I'm moving on. And then my next review is Skull and Bones, so I'm excited for that. And then I'm doing some D&D coverage as well. You can you can read some D&D articles I've got going up and stuff. Aside from that, just reviewing, chugging along. I've got some exciting projects I can't talk about because they're months away. Follow me on IGN.com if you care, or on Twitter @TagGuyTravis, or X. Right. Sorry, X. You know what? I'll call it Twitter. I can call it what he wants.
It's Twitter.
He gets to own it. He gets to own it, but I get to call it what I want.
It's still Twitter.com. I mean, come on.
Yeah. It's also X.com. But it does both. Both go to the same place. Yeah.
Okay. It's Twitter then. Oh.
Yes, I have not made videos actually this past week. So I did a video on Palworld and legal issues there, which you can check out on the channel. And I also did a video on the Microsoft layoff announcements. And for those of you that are interested, my brother who works within the Microsoft family of entities is okay. I know a number of folks have asked. He has stayed on ZeniMax Online Studios, and they're continuing to work on the project that they're working on, which I don't know anything extra about because my brother follows an NDA better than most of my clients. I'll probably be doing some more videos this week. I'm out and about this month, so I don't know what that cadence will be. Honestly, I said this in a community post on the channel. I'm still figuring out exactly what my work, video, life, energy balance is in the New World Order. So thank you for bearing with me on figuring that out. Certainly 3 hours is a bit long for me on these types of episodes, but we'll see exactly how long my nap has to be on a Sunday afterwards. But in any event, thank you so much, folks, for hanging out. And thank you so much for helping to support the channel even when I don't put a video up. So if you're interested in not seeing videos or otherwise just jumping in when I do put a video up, check us out at Hoglaw on YouTube or at Hoglaw on Twitter /X.
/X. All right. As I said, thank you, everyone. Super generous as always. Thank you for hanging out and chatting with us on this lovely Sunday. We are going to go get some food and some sleep, apparently. We will see you next Sunday. Peace.